BBC News at 7 o'clock. This is Claire Runacres. President Trump has said he wants to begin immediate negotiations to acquire Greenland from Denmark, but won't use military force. He was addressing the World Economic Forum in the Swiss resort of Davos days after he threatened to impose fresh trade tariffs on countries, including the UK, that have backed Copenhagen's sovereignty of the Arctic island. Mr. Trump repeated his claim that the US needed the territory for national security.
It's the United States alone that can protect this giant mass of land, this giant piece of ice, develop it and improve it and make it so that it's good for Europe and safe for Europe and good for us. And that's the reason I'm seeking immediate negotiations to once again discuss the acquisition of Greenland by the United States.
Prince Harry has told the High Court in London that Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Daily Mail, made his wife's life an absolute misery. He was giving evidence as part of his legal action against the company, which denies allegations of unlawful information gathering. Ghislaine Maxwell, who was jailed for 20 years for sex trafficking, will give evidence before members of the US Congress for the first time next month. The House Oversight Committee, which is investigating the crimes of her associate Jeffrey Epstein, says she's scheduled to speak on the 9th of February. The oldest known cave painting, believed to be at least 67,800 years old, has been discovered on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Researchers say that fingers of the red hand stencil appear to have been reworked to look like a claw, providing evidence of an early leap in human imagination. Jill Cook is the head of the British Museum's Department of Britain, Europe and Prehistory.
What we need to come next from Sulawesi is to actually find artefacts, caves, to see what people were doing and to see whether this is something that they were terrified of, as we were during COVID, and we were frightened and anxious. And we found all sorts of ways when we were separated from loved ones and alone of singing, dancing, writing, drawing.
And the nominations for the 2026 Brit Awards have been revealed, with a new wave of British talent dominating the shortlist. Newcomers, including Olivia Dean, Lola Young and Pink Pantheress, are up for the main awards. Pulp have also received their first nomination since 1996, the year that Jarvis Cocker invaded the stage during Michael Jackson's performance of Earth Song at the Brits. Mr. Cocker says he's happy that incident is behind him.
That makes it especially good for me, actually. I mean, me personally, because for a while I thought, the Michael Jackson thing that happened in 1996 was really the only thing I was going to ever be remembered for. So the fact that we have been nominated for some music that we've made, I feel like that's laid that to rest.
And the weather, a cloudy evening for much of the UK with a chance of some light rain or drizzle. BBC News, it's 7:03.
The wait is over.
Welcome to a brand new series of Gladiators!
Enjoy your 5 seconds of fame.
It's all about strong, athletic, feminine women breaking down barriers.
Brand new events that will test your pecs, your power and your pace.
I love it. It's like a boxing match, isn't it? Come on!
Yes, the toughest game show on telly.
A brand new series of Gladiators.
Watch on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live Sports, the Champions League with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Jacob Murphy's ball across. Gordon with a chance. It's in. It's the first Champions League goal of the season for Newcastle.
This first game being at home, big onus on us to attack the game, to try and get the result we need to put us in a much better place. That's the only focus in my brain right now.
The pullback for Driesch. 2 for the substitute. 4 for PSV. Esteval into the penalty area. Brilliant goal from Esteval. Oh, that was superb from the highly rated teenager.
This team has shown many times this season and last season that we're able to fight back in difficult circumstances. This club has shown that many times, but this club has shown that many times as well.
Szoboszlai with a free kick. Fired in right footed. McAllister with a header. Courtois could not do anything about that.
Good evening. 3 English sides in Champions League action tonight. We'll be at the Velodrome shortly. Marseille, Liverpool is on 5 Sports Extra this evening. We'll also keep you right up to date with Chelsea against Paphos of Cyprus at Stamford Bridge. Our base is St James's Park. Newcastle against PSV Eindhoven. Full commentary kicks off at 8, so we'll be there in just a second. We're also at key matches in the Championship. Middlesbrough can move back into second if they win at Stoke City. We'll also be in Melbourne. Emma Raducanu's been knocked out of the Australian Open today. We'll hear from her. Also a big interview coming up with England white ball captain Harry Brook. He's been telling us that fans have, quote, every right to be annoyed with his behaviour. You might remember that he was punched by a nightclub bouncer on England's tour of New Zealand before the Ashes. Tonight you can listen to commentary alongside the final score graphics and the video printer if you press the red button, or you could go to BBC iPlayer. It's also on the BBC Sport app if you just click on Champions League final score. So lots to get through. We're also at the semi-finals of the Women's League Cup tonight. Both games got underway at 7 o'clock. We've got the top 2 from the WSL. Chelsea travelling to Manchester City. Katie Smith.
And it's got the makings of something special tonight. It's City 0, Chelsea 0. It's been end-to-end so far, a rematch of last season's final, a precursor to these two going head-to-head in the league in a top-of-the-table clash in a week and a half's time. And the last time they met, it was on the opening day of the WSL season where Chelsea won, but City haven't lost in any competition since. That was Andre Jeglert's first game in charge. He says a lot has changed since. Can't argue they are brimming with confidence. So this could be a prime opportunity of silverware for the first time in 4 years. Both have gone strong tonight. 4 changes apiece from respective big FA Cup wins last week. So City bring back in captain Alex Greenwood. Miedemar starts as well, while Chelsea have Aggie Beaver-Jones back on the bench. So potentially extra time and penalties to come. 0-0 so far.
The other game, Arsenal-Manchester United. Paul Gilmore.
Evening, Steve. 7 minutes gone here at the home of Boreham Wood. Still scoreless between Arsenal and Manchester United. Already a big chance inside 60 seconds for Frida Manum, but her header parried away for a corner by Fallon Tullis-Joyce. This is the start, of course, of a demanding spell for Arsenal. 4 games in 11 days across 3 competitions, and they're facing familiar opposition. The last 2 meetings between these sides have finished goalless, including the league match less than a fortnight ago, and Arsenal, finalists in 10 of the 14 League Cup finals, make 5 changes from their FA Cup win. Kadina, Manum, Ford, Belova and Hines all start. United also rotate heavily, 5 coming in: Sandberg, Turland, Riviere, Miyazawa, and a first start for Wangerheim since her move from Hammarby. Early stages, it's Arsenal 0, Manchester United 0.
So we will keep you up to date with all of that. By the way, the 2 early kickoffs in the Champions League, both level at 1-1 in the second half. So that's Galatasaray, Atletico Madrid and Karabag Frankfurt. Our main focus is St James's Park. Newcastle can guarantee at least a playoff place for the knockout round tonight. They will do so if they beat PSV Eindhoven. The thing is, Ian Dennis, with or without jeopardy, it's always a great night in Europe at St James's Park.
It is, yes, and I think, Steve, to be honest with you, the plea from Eddie Howe was to try and generate another one of those European atmospheres here to try and inspire them, because, as you say, the incentive is to finish in the top 8. The last thing that this Newcastle United side is to play another 2 additional games if they are to be in the playoffs in February, for a squad that has already been stretched to the very limit so far this season. As for the team news, however, they've made just the one change from the team that played against Wolves at the weekend: Wisser for Voltemade. So they're very settled in that respect. Pope in goal, Trippier, Chow, Botman and Hall the defence, Joe Linton, Guimaraes, Tonali the midfield, Barnes, Wisser and Gordon, against a PSV side that Eddie Howe rates extremely highly. And they've made 3 changes from their last Champions League game against Atletico Madrid back in December. And those changes are: Sabari is out. He's been away at the African Cup of Nations, but he's suspended anyway. So the remaining international, Marn, replaces him. Perisic, the Croatian international, comes in for Driouche, and Sildalia replaces Destin defence. So Kovar in goal, Sildilia, Schouten, Gazarovski, Salah Adin the defence, Varner, Junior, Veerman the midfielder in the midfield, Marn, Thiel and Perisic the front 3.
Pat Nevin is alongside Ian for commentary. Evening, Pat.
Good evening.
They finished Newcastle with PSG away, so this is massive tonight.
Yeah, you're not going to get into the top 8 unless you win this one tonight, and Eddie Howe will be well aware of that. And to ensure that they get through, even just to the playoffs, they could do with at least a point tonight. So they can't take it easy in any way whatsoever. And you can tell by that team that he's put out that is the case. So put PSG to the back of your minds and think about tonight. Paris seems a long way away from Newcastle and the conditions that we've got here. But, it's raining, it's wet, it's against a team that are very open and very attack-minded. So the possibility you could actually get a really interesting, exciting open game is tantalising.
Champions League match of the day tonight, by the way. BBC One 10:40. Kelly Cates with Steph Houghton, Rory Smith and Stephen Warnock. Rory and Stephen are with us. Evening, fellas.
Hello. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Very good. This is so important, this competition for Newcastle this season, Rory, for all manner of reasons. Firstly, it's the Champions League. But secondly, with the way other competitions have been going, it feels even more important.
Yeah, I guess this is the one that they can target for a run. Maybe winning it obviously is a bit of a stretch at this stage, but if you are Newcastle and you're looking at a Champions League quarter-final, something like that, that would be a season well worth remembering. And I think Eddie Howe probably is aware of that. The Premier League's not gone as they'd have wanted. Decent run in the Carabao Cup, but it difficult second leg against Man City, 2 goals worse off. So this is their kind of chance of glory, if not in the shape of a trophy, certainly in the shape of memories.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's been a difficult season again for Eddie Howe in terms of, and I think we see it so often, how you juggle the Premier League and Champions League football, and you have to have a deeper squad to be able to do it. I think you've got to be. I thought they might have learnt a little bit more from previous, or the couple of seasons ago when they were in the Champions League. But they've struggled in the Premier League at times. They've been inconsistent. However, they're still in a decent position within the Premier League to probably get back into them top 5 places if they can go on a run, and we all know they're capable of doing that. I think the one thing that's missing from them at the moment is a killer instinct in front of goal.
We've got loads of time, Ian, obviously, to talk about this game between now and 8 o'clock, but just a quick word on PSV for now, and we're going to speak to one of their journalists a little bit closer to kick-off. They score a hell of a lot of goals, but they do have the odd injury and suspension issue.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Sabari is just obviously returned from with Morocco at the African Cup of Nations. He played in the final, but he's one of their key players. Scored 11 goals from midfield so far this season, but they are missing a number of players. Dest, the American international, is out as well. Ricardo Pepi, who scored in each of his last successive appearances, is another one on the injured list as well. So they're not blessed with a full strength entitlement of players tonight. However, that said, they do cause a threat, and anybody who saw the game at Anfield will tell you that they are a threat on the counter-attack. They do possess a clinical edge. They will score goals, and they're also not only the Dutch champions and they're the runaway league leaders. They're looking to win it obviously for a 3rd successive time. You look at their away record. Their last defeat was actually on their travels back in March, so they're unbeaten in 20 games on their travels. So they will pose a real problem for Newcastle tonight, but that's something that Eddie Howe is more than aware of.
Right, we'll be back at St James's Park very shortly then. Elsewhere, Chelsea start the night 14th in the Champions League table, so they're 3 points outside the automatic qualification places. They're at home to Cypriot side Paphos. John Southall.
Good evening, Steve. Well, Liam Rossini has made 6 changes from the side that squeezed past Brentford on Saturday, including changing the back 5. Jorgensen replaces Sanchez in goal. Also back in Fofana, Badiashile and Harto for Shalabar, Tosin and Cucurella. Enzo Fernandez does start. He'll play in the number 10 position with Reece James in midfield. There's no Cole Palmer in the squad. The others returning Marlo Gusto at right back and Liam Delap up front. Disappointingly, David Luiz is on the bench on his return to Stamford Bridge. 6 trophies he won here in 2 spells. He now, of course, plays for Paphos, who have never scored an away goal in the Champions League. Chelsea, they're 3 points behind 8th at the moment, and you suspect they might need to win their last 2 games to have a chance of making the top 8. Napoli away as well to finish.
Our commentary game on 5 Sports Extra this evening at 8 o'clock. It's a great one. Marseille versus Liverpool. We almost don't need to say any more, John Akers, but I have to ask you, obviously, Salah in, Salah out.
Salah in. Starts his first for the club since November after his month-long AFCON break. Wirtz and Ekitike are also in the 11. Gakpo and Jones dropping to the bench. Ibrahima Konate's out for personal reasons, so Joe Gomez comes in at centre-back alongside Virgil van Dijk, who makes his 350th appearance for the club tonight. McAllister starts in the middle in place of Jones. Marseille under De Zerbi have been scoring for fun, with former Manchester United forward Mason Greenwood a big part of that. 17 goals in all competitions. He starts. They're 17th in the Champions League table, with Liverpool 11th. They'll move into the coveted top 8 with a win.
So Liverpool have only won one of their last 4. That was the FA Cup win over Barnsley at Anfield. Salah hasn't played for Liverpool since the 2-0 win over Brighton. That was back on the 13th of December. Here's Arne Slot.
I'm really happy and pleased that he's back, because in his absence, I think we've done quite okay in terms of hardly conceding any chance. We started to create more and more, and if you start to create more and more, it's really helpful to have a player like Mo Salah, because if there's ever been a player, I think there was one who scored more for this club, but that can score goals and that I can still play. I don't think I can play Ian Rush still. Then it's really helpful to have him back, because we would never know, but the amount of chances, the amount of ball possession against Burnley with Mo on the pitch would usually mean that we would have scored more. So yeah, that's why I'm really happy that he's back, because creating chances is nice, but we're only judged on the result, and that wasn't nice. So hopefully we can combine two things, so create the same chances, able to score more, and keep not conceding chances on the other end.
That's Arne Slot. Charlie Adam, part of the commentary team tonight. Evening.
Evening, you okay?
Yeah, good. I think we could make a compelling discussion around whether or not he should be going straight back into the team and all that kind of thing. It was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Again, that month at the AFCON, after the sort of situation in the moment that Mo Salah had at West Ham, that sparked a lot of interest from the media. I think clearly their talks before going to the AFCON was key into that. Going there and playing for his national team, scoring 4 goals, and looked like he was enjoying it. To come back now, hopefully there's refreshed, ready to go and re-energised, that we might see a different Mo Salah than we have for the first part of the season.
I just think write him off at your peril. I just think there's so many people who are saying, because of his age, it's like, right, he's done, and his numbers have dropped, and you think, well, look round the squad, look round the team. Everyone else's numbers have dropped as well. The chances created for him, the opportunities that defenders are allowing the opposition to have been far too great. So it's not just been Mohamed Salah. There's been a drop off from the whole squad, but because he's a superstar player and he's not scoring the goals to get them out of trouble, so suddenly everyone just goes, well, he's the problem. He's the one that you've got to sort of blame for the issues. But I think this is a huge plus for Liverpool to have him back tonight. I think it's massive. I was really interested to see what he'd do in terms of where Salah would play, because I felt when he came on against Brighton, he played up alongside Ekitike. And I felt like it suited him, because what you then don't have to worry about is, you don't have to worry about his responsibility to run back towards his own goal. Frimpong will be isolated. He's not the greatest of defenders, so what you do need is a little bit of help on that side. So it might just ask a midfielder now to push across to that side, because we believe Salah will play on that right hand side. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in the near future with him in his role.
Do you think, Rory, that Liverpool now should still be focused on how do you get the best version of Mo Salah from what you've got? Or when you look at someone like Florian Wirtz, especially how he's played more recently and how much longer he's likely to be there, should the conversation now be, what do you do with Mo Salah and everybody else to get the best out of Florian Wirtz?
Oh, and I'll bow to Stephen and Charlie, who are both marginally better at football than I am. But on that, I think with players of that quality, you should be able to expect them to dovetail in some way. It shouldn't be an either or. But to me, it is a really interesting kind of point for Slot, because, and listening to him there was fascinating, because that's a very kind of algorithmic understanding of football. It's we have been creating chances. If you put a player with a killer instinct in the team, we will score more goals, which is kind of how a lot of us think about football. And it makes sense, like it's not necessarily wrong. But at the same time, before he dropped Salah, Liverpool had lost 9 in 12 and they were wide open. They were so easy to play against. And then he dropped Salah, and I agree with Stephen, I don't think it is in any way entirely Mo Salah's fault that Liverpool were in a bad run of form. But Slot clearly decided, We have to stop losing football matches. We have to be more solid. So I need to get someone. I think Szoboszlai played on the right initially. And Dominic Szoboszlai is a wonderful footballer, but he works. Dominic Szoboszlai gets up and down and he keeps going. Slot, over the last 2 months, has built a team that is not great to watch, that often are extremely slow to play. They still look ponderous. They still look too kind of indecisive. But they're a bit harder to beat. They haven't lost 9 in 12. They're unbeaten in 12. It is the most underwhelming unbeaten run in football history, but it is an unbeaten run. So now he gets the player back who could lift them to another level and score goals and mean they win games and look quite good. Or does it interrupt the balance that he struck, which still feels very delicate? And does it expose Liverpool?
Well, it's an interesting one as well tonight, away in Marseille, and the way they play, the high intensity, is you need grafters on the pitch. You need people who are going to come back and challenge, but you also need that player in the opposition box who, given one opportunity, can take that one opportunity, score you a goal, and you go, "Oh, great, we've got something to defend now," or that'll bring Marseille out even more. And then on the counter-attack, we're in an even better position. So it's going to be fascinating how this does play out over the next few months. But to go back to your initial question about the players, I think you've got to get the best out of all three of the forward line. And how do you gel that forward three and get the best out of them? When we talk about Mohamed Salah's work rate, let's not forget, Florian Wirtz isn't the best off the ball either. So essentially, you're going to 2 players now who don't work off the ball in high areas. So there's an awful lot of workload for that midfield area, and your fullbacks who, 2 attacking fullbacks, want to get forward. So you've got a very, very attacking lineup away from home. This could be a fascinating one.
It's interesting now that they've gone with, instead of sort of 4-2-3-1, they've gone 4-3-3 tonight in terms of Wirtz on the left-hand side. Szoboszlai is a pressing machine. He's the best presser in the Premier League, with Anthony Gordon, high intensity, this unbelievable presser. So that's where he will sort of just roll, sort of feel his place of where Mo Salah is to cover that side. Liverpool are still far too open in transition.
Yeah.
They're still open. Like, even against, no disrespect, Barnsley had big moments because the press is so open. On the outsides, Van Dijk and Konate are always 1v1 in wide areas. As a centre-back, you would never ever want to be 1v1. And the problems are still there, but they've not actually been capitalised on. Early part of the season, they were getting capitalised on. So again, away in Marseille tonight, if Liverpool said it the same way, they'll still get killed with the transition in terms of on the outside of the 2 centre-backs. So the full-backs play so high and wide that Liverpool are too open, and there's no real structure in the middle of the pitch for them. So when the turnover comes, they get crucified.
Yeah, I always... Oh, sorry, go on.
I was saying that Marseille were 4-0 up at half-time at the weekend. They're a De Zerbi team. They pour forward. They don't stop. They are great to watch. They will score goals tonight. And I do wonder whether that lineup from Slot is almost, is he leaning into the chaos a little bit? He's saying, okay, this is not a game where we can sit back, absorb pressure and try and nick it 1-0. If someone's winning this, they're probably winning it 4-3.
If this becomes a man-for-man game, the game for Liverpool opens up. It could be crazy for them.
Yeah.
And that's what Liverpool do normally. They go man for man at the press and they'll try and line you up to get you straight man for man. If that happens tonight against the De Zerbi team, he can crucify you tonight. So really important that Liverpool just don't go pressing for the sake of pressing, and they're organised and they've got set their triggers and then they go. But like Stephen says, Salah and Wirtz out of possession, they're not the best pressers compared to what Szoboszlai or Ekitike is. So really interesting to see how they do it tonight.
I think it's an interesting one because when you say there, it's chaos. The one thing Liverpool aren't good at is chaos. They can't deal with it, and we've seen that over the course of the season. But I just think from a centre midfielder's point of view, you say it there, and I totally agree with you with Szoboszlai, one of the best pressing players. But often I'd be saying, just stay alongside us. If I was McAllister and Gravenberch, I'd say, just stay in here.
Discipline, yeah.
And press at the right times.
Yeah.
But often, and it was good last year because they pressed as a high 4 and it caught teams out. Well, teams quickly pay past that 4 and then they're exposed as a 2 in that midfield. Gravenberch can run, McAllister can't. So there's an exposure in there. Whereas I'd be saying, get Szoboszlai back alongside us and just protect us and help us.
And also, you've got to think about, they had Trent as the right back and Robertson, who tactically are clever. Kerkez wants to go forward, Frimpong wants to go forward. They're wing backs, they're not full backs. So they think about that. So again, if you think about that, Van Dijk, Konate and probably Gravenberch on his own, 3 in there midfield. You've got 7 other players at the top end of the pitch.
Do you think there's an argument, Stephen, that Because I was looking at Mo Salah's goals this season earlier. So it's 5 goals for Liverpool this season. This time last year, so today last year he scored in the Champions League for Liverpool against Lille. That was his 22nd goal of the season. And we'd be here all night if we talked about all of the mitigating factors between the two Liverpool teams. But I do wonder if there is something in the fact that even though he's been playing a hell of a lot of football at the Cup of Nations, whether the change of scenery and the change of shirt can in of itself be a refresher for him.
100% it can. 100%. So often what we'd always try and look for within a season was a change of environment. So whether that was
a sun on your back makes a difference.
100%. And it was get away from the environment, because often you can get too bogged down with the players within the changing room, and it can become too monotonous, and you think sometimes that change is as good as anything, and hopefully that's what Mohamed Salah will find at the moment. I think it's just a case of one thing he doesn't have to do is reintegrate himself into the changing room. The players accepted his apology straight away after it. That was forgotten. When he landed back in and came into that changing room, the players would have been delighted, because they're thinking, there's our game changer. There's our guy who can score goals. And they'll also be thinking the same. Hopefully he comes back and he's ready to go. And they'll be feeding him the ball as often as they can tonight and trying to get him on the ball, because they know he's a danger.
Yeah, I think the pressure that he's under with Egypt is different as well. That might help, because that is a much more kind of severe form of pressure. Like, he is expected to deliver an African Cup of Nations for Egypt. He's never won it. They're the country that's won it the most. That is, and obviously it was unsuccessful. He's not had a happy time, particularly in Morocco. But I wonder whether in a weird way, given how toxic it was when he left, he might feel a little bit of relief just from the intensity of that scrutiny of being, Egypt's standard bearer, to be back in club football. And it might just give everyone a bit of a reset, I guess. It all depends on everyone being very mature and grown up, and as Stephen says, like the other players being willing to let bygones be bygones. Salah willing to kind of just park everything that he felt. Slot the same. But it may well just be that everyone gets the chance to reset and kind of go again, and then maybe everyone sees where they are at the end of the season.
Are you getting changed before match of the day, Stephen, or are you going on in Marseille blue? Because you could not, like, you know how something's called,
I didn't even think of it,
jade green or something like that is Marseille blue. It screams Marseille. I will be getting
changed, don't worry.
Sensible. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Excellent. Rory Smith, Stephen Warnock, Champions League match of the day, 10:40 tonight. Steph Fortin also with them. Kelly Cates presenting on BBC One. Charlie, thank you. Charlie will be with Conor McNamara for full commentary of Marseille versus Liverpool. You can listen to that one on 5 Sports Extra at 8 o'clock. We're also at 2 championship matches this evening. So playoff chasing Watford face Portsmouth, looking to climb out of the relegation zone. Andy Stevenson's at Vicarage Road.
Evening, Steve. It's only one win in 16 league games for Portsmouth, but crucially they did beat Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday, and they do have games in hand on the sides above them. Just one change for Pompey tonight. New signing Ebu Adams came on as a sub at Hillsborough, but starts tonight in place of Connor Shaughnessy. As for Watford, they failed to score for the first time in 17 matches and were played off the park really by Millwall here on Saturday. But Javi Garcia names an unchanged starting lineup this evening. Watford are unbeaten in 8 home league games against Portsmouth, winning their last 4 in a row.
If Middlesbrough win their 3rd game in a row tonight in the league, they'll move 2nd in the Championship table. They're at Stoke, though, who've got 5 clean sheets in the last 6. Lee Blakeman.
Middlesbrough have a great recent record, though, against Stoke, Steve. Unbeaten in 3 and just 3 defeats in their last 15 against them. If they can extend that run with another one here, they'll end the night just 6 points behind leaders Coventry. Borough unchanged from the last gasp win at West Brom on Friday. They face a Stoke side who are unbeaten in 4 but come into tonight without a recognised striker, as 5, including Manchester City loanee Divine Mabama, are all out injured. They're also without on-loan goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu tonight too. He only joined last week from Southampton but is also injured, so youngster Tommy Simpkin starts. Stoke yet to concede a goal in 2026.
So that one kicks off at 8 o'clock. The other game, Watford-Portsmouth, is 7:45, as is Southampton versus Sheffield United. We will keep you up to date with all of that. Emma Raducanu's been knocked out of the Australian Open in the 2nd round. She lost in straight sets to Anastasia Potapova. That means that she's only gone past the 3rd round of a Grand Slam once since that famous US Open victory in 2021. So we will get analysis from Grand Slam winning coach Dan Kiernan with Gigi Salmon shortly. First, here is Raducanu with our tennis correspondent Russell Fuller.
Emma, that wasn't the way we are used to seeing you perform in a Grand Slam. What was your reading of the match today?
Yeah, today I
found it difficult. I just didn't really feel very well from the start. So it was one of those I tried to fight with what I had in the first set. I had a few chances, but I really didn't feel good out there today, and need to just try and rest, recover, and get back when I'm ready.
Was the forehand the main issue for you, and did you find that other aspects of your game suffered as perhaps the confidence drained away from you?
I think it was difficult conditions today. It was really windy and lively, and I hadn't necessarily played many matches and points, and then in these conditions as well, it's been a while, so it was a bit of adjusting to everything, and at the same time just feeling a bit out of body at the same time. It doesn't help, so I think it was a combination of many different factors. Like, no particular shot felt very good today.
And you just said in your news conference that you're not really playing the way you want to play. Do you and Francis Roig still see things the same way, and do you still think it's a partnership that can endure?
Yeah, I think, today I didn't play how I want to play because I wasn't hitting any shot particularly well. It's tough to take an assessment after a match like today, where I feel like it's more just, you're completely off. But me and Francis have done some amazing work together in the last few months, and I've improved so many different aspects of my game. And then we were very just inhibited with what we could do before Australia and our preparation. So I think it's difficult to kind of say that we don't agree.
We'll see you soon. Thanks for talking to us, Emma.
Thank you.
She said, Russell, she didn't feel well from the start. How did she seem? How is her demeanour when you spoke to her?
She did her professional duty. She fronted up and she spoke to me, and we were told, keep it to 3 questions, which is very normal when a player has suffered a defeat like that. But as you heard there, she gave 3 good answers, particularly on Francisco Roig at the end. And I think she was hinting there, wasn't she, quite strongly, that she's a little bit under the weather as well, which might have been another factor.
There's always talk, though, isn't there, with Emma Raducanu? When things aren't going well, they say, oh, well, let's try a new coach. There will be a new coach on the scene, but she seemed very positive.
Yes. I think, what do we know, first of all? I think we are increasingly aware, we have become aware in the last few days that there are some creative differences in the camp, but it seems to be mostly related to the forehand, which has been tinkered with by various coaches over the last year. And Emma Raducanu is somebody who does like to make technical changes, and that's not at all unusual. But it does seem that this bigger swing back on the forehand, which Dan can tell us about in a minute, is contributing to more errors on that side, and she's losing confidence. And she did say on Saturday, before the tournament began, that she didn't want to develop a bigger swing on the forehand. It's just something that's happened over the last few days. Let's listen to exactly what she said in her pre-tournament press conference on Saturday.
I think it's something that probably happened in the last few weeks. It's not something that I really wanted to happen. So I need to kind of look at that and shorten it, because I feel like it's good in certain conditions, when it's a little bit slower, but on these very quick courts it doesn't really work. So I need to adjust that.
A result of not being off court, or I guess you've talked a lot about trying to hit with more spin and more pace. It's maybe that an offset of that.
I think it's because I've been working on certain things with Francis, and on a particular shot it works well, but we didn't really practice a different type of shot, which it doesn't work so well. So it's probably because we haven't done the latter, and it's just drifted in that way. But it's not something I want to continue.
So that's what she said on Saturday. Dan Kiernan, you have the expert's eye. You are a coach yourself. So what do you make of what she said there, and what are you seeing with your own eyes?
What I don't like about it is I don't believe people have a forehand. I believe people have hundreds of different forehands, because I guess my belief and my philosophy is very, very much around technique needs to be adapted to the situation that you are in, the tactical intention that you have, and the ball that you receive. So for me, yes, you might have a certain forehand that you hit when you have time and you're looking to try and hit through the court, but for me, it's very basic. That, for me, though, would also tap into I'm sorry to say it, but the changes of coaches. Coaching for me is about personal and player. It's about connection. It's about relationships. The second worrying part for me there is I think she had a dig at her coach there, from what I heard in the second part, which tells me there is absolutely a crack in there, and that would tell me that that relationship probably doesn't have too much longer to go.
Dan, can I just ask, when you see Emma Raducanu playing, do you see someone that enjoys playing tennis, is enjoying what she's doing?
No, I don't. I really don't. And I think that's why for me, like, forehand technique, it's nonsense. She's got a great forehand, and she also knows that she can adapt it in different situations. The sensitivities that she seems to have to so many things, right? And even to take what she said there, like, I felt like that out-of-body experience. We've heard that before, right? There's clearly something that isn't fully connecting. I would hazard a guess she doesn't fully know her standing and purpose and all of those bits that go into it. I don't think that she relishes the battles, and I don't know Emma, and I have an utmost respect for Emma, and I'm not saying this in any disrespectful way at all, but it does come across there's a soft centre. You know, that when something isn't quite going to plan, there seems to be a bit of excuse making. There seems to be, and look, and I feel for her on that, because that's part and parcel, in my opinion, of something bigger that's going on.
Really interesting. Dan Kiernan there with the team on Emma Raducanu, who's been knocked out of the Australian Open. Elsewhere, by the way, Arthur Ferry was beaten by Thomas Etcheverry in 3 sets. So Cam Norrie is the last Brit standing in the singles. He beat Emilio Nava in 4 sets to reach the 3rd round. Tennis Breakfast is back 7 a.m. 5 Sports Extra on BBC Sounds. The commentary matches will feature back-to-back Australian Open champion Yannick Sinner and Elena Rybakina, who won Wimbledon back in 2022. We have got, 25 minutes to go until full commentary in the Champions League. We'll be back very shortly to St James's Park. Newcastle, PSV Eindhoven, live here on 5 Live. Marseille, Liverpool on 5 Sports Extra. We'll be keeping you up to date with Chelsea against Paphos as well at Stamford Bridge, plus games in the Championship and the Women's League Cup semi-finals. First, England white ball captain Harry Brooks says supporters have every right to be annoyed with his behaviour after he was punched by a nightclub bouncer the night before playing for England in their tour of New Zealand. Now, England went on to lose that ODI in November. Of course, they lost the Ashes as well that followed in Australia. Brooke was fined and given a warning. The story became public knowledge after the final Ashes test in Sydney. That was more than 2 months after it happened. So here is Harry Brooke speaking about the incident and its fallout.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into any details, but obviously I made a terrible mistake, and not only as a player but as a captain, it's very unprofessional. I should be leading from the front and showing the players how it should be as a professional cricketer and a captain, and I put myself in a bad situation which I shouldn't have done. And yeah, I've learnt from my mistakes. I've reflected a lot on what's happened, and I know it wasn't the right thing to do, and I want to say sorry to my teammates, to all the fans that travel far and wide to watch us, spend a lot of money on coming out to watch us play cricket and supporting us, and to the ECB for putting them in a tricky situation. And it'll never happen again. And like I said, I'm extremely sorry.
You said you put yourself into a situation that you shouldn't have done. Why were you out drinking on that evening? And is that something that normally happens the night before a game?
No, it definitely doesn't. We just went out for some food and we just said let's go for a drink, and there was no intention of going out, no intention of putting ourselves in a tricky situation. It just managed to happen, and obviously if I had my time again, I definitely wouldn't do it again.
There was an incident outside a nightclub that you felt that you needed to tell about. You felt that you needed to tell the management about what happened.
Yeah, definitely. If I hadn't have told them and I didn't get them punishments, then the punishments would be even worse and more severe. So I'm glad that I told them. I trusted the ECB in telling them that I've made a mistake, and thankfully I'm still playing cricket for England, and that's a childhood dream, and the punishments could have been a lot more severe. So I'm glad that I told them and that we dealt with it.
You tell them straight away before the game?
No, I told them mid-game. I felt like I needed to reflect on it and try and come up with a plan to negate what had happened, really.
Obviously this didn't come out in the media until after the Ashes, but you knew it had happened. Was that hanging over you during Australia? Did you feel like it affected your performances?
No. I just thought that they were a better side than us. They played much better cricket than us.
But you personally, your personal performances?
No, definitely not. I think I thought it had all gone by, to be honest. I didn't think it would ever come out, and obviously we got struck with it after the last Test match, and yeah, I don't think it affected my performances at all.
Back in Melbourne, Rob Key said to us that maybe the decisions the management had taken about preparation and some of the things that had been taken around the tour didn't give the players the best chance of succeeding in the Ashes. Did the players give themselves the best chance of succeeding in the Ashes with their off-field behaviour, attitude towards training? Do you feel like you gave yourself the best shot?
Yeah, definitely. I think you've got to be able to relax away from the game. We obviously had that week off in Noosa, and that was a perfect opportunity to go and relax, downtime, take your mind off cricket, have a couple of drinks here and there, as long as you're drinking responsibly. Our preparation, I think, was good enough to do. It was the best preparation I've had before cricket, apart from that incident in New Zealand. But yeah, we still trained as hard as we ever do. We still worked hard away from cricket, gym-wise, running, and yeah, I think we just got outperformed throughout the series.
Obviously, you knew what had happened in New Zealand before a lot of England fans got on that plane to Australia, who'd spent a lot of money and time travelling there, thinking that was England's best chance to win the Ashes in Australia for a very long time. What do you say to those supporters who now, and do you understand that a lot of those supporters are quite angry at what transpired, both with yourself in New Zealand and then performances in Australia?
Yeah, definitely, and they have every right to be annoyed. I made a terrible mistake. I put myself in a situation which I shouldn't have done. Did it affect my cricket? I don't think so. I'd have still played the same way. Obviously, I didn't get a score that I'd have liked, but yeah, I still played the same way. I think that they played better cricket than us, and look, I'm extremely sorry to all the supporters for doing what I did in New Zealand, and I've got to try and regain their trust again in my ability in my cricket on the field and off the field. So I'm hoping that they can expect that I'll be slightly different away from the game. I'll be more professional, and that's what I've got to do now for the rest of my career.
England white ball captain Harry Brook speaking to our chief cricket reporter Stefan Schemmelt. Let's speak to former England assistant coach Paul Farbrace. Evening, Paul.
Good evening.
Look, what's happened has happened. In the situation that he has put himself in, how did he handle today, do you think? What did you make of the interview?
Look, I thought it was very honest, very open, very mature. I thought he dealt with it really well today. The fact that he fronted up, he didn't try and hide anything. He openly said, I waited until halfway through the next day. You can understand a young man that has made a decision that he knows is wrong, and he's put himself in a really difficult situation. But he also admits that he didn't quite know how to deal with it. He owned up the next day. He fronted up. He's taken his punishment, and I thought the way that he spoke today was very mature, very open, very honest. Look, we all know he's made a mistake. And let's be honest, he's not the first England cricketer to make a mistake. He's not the first sportsman or woman to make a mistake. And young people do get things wrong. They do make mistakes. And everybody deserves a second chance. If he sat there and said, I didn't really feel I'd done anything wrong, and, I feel I'm fairly punished, it would be a very different conversation. But the fact that he spoke as well as he did, I'm full of admiration for him for actually owning it and owning his bad decision and absolutely categorically saying it will never happen again, and it can't happen again. But fair play to him for fronting up today.
I suppose it could be difficult from a coach's perspective to balance that desire to give people second chances with things like accountability. I just wonder, because he did say that he knows that he is lucky to have retained the captaincy. How lucky do you think he is? Do you think some England head coaches might have sort of inserted themselves into the process in a way that perhaps Brendan McCullum hasn't?
Look, Brendan will definitely have been involved in the discussion, and I think the key is he still the right person to be captain of England? And I don't want to go back over old ground, but we all know, well documented, that Ben Stokes had an unfortunate incident during my time, and he had to work hard to get the the trust of the team and trust of everybody else back, and that took a little bit of a while. And then he was given the captaincy of England, and a lot of people have said, currently he's been one of the best captains that England have ever had. So he was given a second chance, and he owned, what happened the first time round with him. So I think as a coach, you're looking at what effect does it have on the team, and if you keep giving people a second chance, eventually, you do actually run out of road as a coach. But this is the first time that Harry Brook has done anything wrong in this sense, and I think the coaching support team around him, have got behind him. They've worked with him, and I'm sure there'll have been strong, harsh words. Ben Stokes apparently wasn't happy. Harry said that himself, that Ben wasn't happy when he found out about it. And I'm sure Ben was very straight and honest with him because he's that sort of character. So I think as a coach, you look at the response of your team, you look at the response of other players, and provided he's been open and upfront and honest with his team, then I think the team will say, okay, he's messed up, but we get behind him and we support him. And, a lot will show in this series in Sri Lanka. He knows he's under pressure because he hasn't scored many runs in Australia. He knows he's under pressure because of the New Zealand incident as a captain, and people are looking at him to see how he copes in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka will be a tough, very, very tough series for them leading into this T20 World Cup. But in many ways, it's a great chance for Harry Brook, the player, to bounce back and show that on the field he's a good captain and he's a very good player, which we all know he is. So, I think this opportunity comes at a very good time for him.
Yeah. Paul, thank you very much indeed. That's Paul Farbrace. Thank you, former England assistant coach, of course, with us live there on 5 Live Sport. Women's League Cup semi-finals tonight. We've had a goal, and it's come in the game between Manchester City and Chelsea. Katie Smith.
And it's Chelsea who've broken the deadlock. City 0, Chelsea 1, and after some big moments for the home side, it was the holders building pressure, successive crosses coming in from the right. Baltimore this time finding the back post, finding Vika Kaptan unmarked. So Chelsea, as things stand, steading for a 7th consecutive final in a row. City 0, Chelsea 1.
The other game, Arsenal-Man United, is still 0-0, just approaching half-time. We'll keep you up to date. Elsewhere, Jean-Philippe Mateta has told Crystal Palace that he wants to leave the club this month. He's got 18 months left on his current deal. We're going to do much more on that at half-time. Manchester City are going to refund the tickets for the 374 fans who went over to Norway to watch their team lose 3-1 to Bodo Glimt in the Champions League on Tuesday. In rugby union, former England captain Jamie George is going to retire at the end of 2027. He's agreed a 1-year contract extension with Saracens. France's all-time top try scorer Damien Penaud has been left out of their Six Nations squad. Gregory Aldrit, who captained France to last year's title, has also lost his place alongside Gaël Ficou. Instead, there's a raft of young players who are making up that side. And Ulster captain Ian Henderson's been left out of the Ireland squad for the Six Nations, while Andrew Porter is going to miss the opening fixture with a calf injury. We've had a goal right before half-time in the Women's League Cup semi-final between Arsenal and Manchester United. Paul Gilmore.
And the goal has gone Manchester United's way. Borbe, the Arsenal goalkeeper, won't want to see this one again. Her short pass out was well read and intercepted by Elizabeth Terland, who found the bottom corner in stoppage time at the end of this half. It's Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1.
Right, we've got just under 15 minutes to go until full commentary from St James's Park. It's going to sound brilliant. Newcastle versus PSV Eindhoven. We're at 2 brilliant sporting theatres tonight, actually, because we're also at the Velodrome on 5 Sports Extra for Marseille versus Liverpool. Both of those games kick off at 8 o'clock. And as I say, we'll keep you up to date with Chelsea versus Paphos. These are the sounds of St James's. Let's learn a bit more about this PSV team then. As Ian said before, reigning Dutch champions, 16-point lead at the top of the Eredivisie. They've lost 1 league game this season. They haven't lost away from home in any competition since March the 1st last year. And their Champions League highlights this season include a 4-1 win against Liverpool at Anfield, a 6-2 win against Napoli. They also held Arsenal to a 2-2 draw in the competition last season. So Ian Dennis and Pat Nevin back with us. We can also speak to Dutch football journalist Jeroen Koptens. Jeroen, good evening. Tell us about this PSV team. They sound very exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's a very interesting team. Peter Bos has been building a wonderful team. Has been champion the last 2 seasons, and now he's 16 points ahead again. So yeah, it's really massive what they're performing.
Why do they love coming to England so much?
I don't know if they love coming to England because last year they had a huge loss against Arsenal also, further on in the Champions League. It was in Eindhoven, the big loss, but that was the game in London was already decided. But they were very successful at Anfield. It was a quite open game, so it could have been a different way also, but it was quite impressive to win 4-1 on Anfield.
We've already talked a bit about the players who aren't there. Of the PSV team that plays tonight, who is the player who you think we should most have our eyes and ears on?
Yeah, I think Perisic. He still is very strong. He's becoming 37 years old next month, but he's still very enthusiastic and a real class player, and very important for this team because he was playing in the real top leagues, in the real top clubs, and he knows what is necessary to perform at this level.
Do you know, I was looking at the PSV games in the Champions League and that phenomenal result, and the game against the goal scored against Napoli, and winning scoring 4 goals at Anfield as well. Are you a wee bit disappointed that they've not got more points in the Champions League this season, considering they've done so well in the Dutch League as well?
Yeah, there were had a few disappointing games against the Belgian champion Union Saint-Gilloise. They started, and then it was early in the season. They were not on the highest level yet. They lost at home from Union. That was a big loss, of course, because home games at least you don't. At least you have to take 1 point, but better win home games if you want to have success in Champions League. And against Atletico, they were very close to a result, but they had a huge miss in the last few seconds of the game. Was open chance, but they missed. So it could have been differently. But still, they are really battling to be with the first 24. And that's quite surprising if you beat Liverpool and beat Napoli, and then you're still battling to be at the best 24.
Your own yesterday, the Newcastle manager Eddie Howe was full of praise for PSV. He says, you've got different ideas. I like teams that are slightly out of the ordinary. What makes PSV slightly out of the ordinary? What are those different ideas?
Yeah, I think Peter Bos is a coach with a very own football philosophy, playing in a Dutch style, with a lot of ball possession, and also with they dare to take risks. But it's you play against Newcastle. You know what a budget they have. Newcastle spent 260 million euros. I don't know exactly what it is in pounds, but you probably know better. Last summer, and they have players like Woltemade and Elanga on the bench. Players for 75 million euros and 60 million euros, and PSV only has youngsters on the bench and a lot of injured players, so they have a very tiny squad. So the gap between the two clubs is still very big. So it's Newcastle is of course the favourite. They're playing at home with a lot of experienced Premier League players.
Jeroen,
can surprise.
Just before we let you go, Jeroen, just wanted to ask you one more specifically on Peter Bos himself. How did PSV fans feel when he arrived? Because, he's a former Ajax manager. He was sacked from his 3 jobs after that. He only lasted 10 months at Lyon. He has been wildly successful at PSV Eindhoven, but were supporters completely excited to hear about him when he came back?
Yeah, I think in Holland he had a very good reputation because he really did a massive job at Ajax, and everyone knew why the jobs in abroad were not that successful, because there were all reasons for that. So people were really enthusiastic, and also the supporters of Ajax were hoping he was coming back to Ajax. So the supporters of PSV were happy that he was coming to PSV and not to Ajax. So and he really did it much better than anyone expected. PSV is now reigning the Dutch League already for 2.5 seasons, and probably will have the championship again this year. So that's an impressive achievement.
Jeroen, thank you so much. Great to have you on. Jeroen Koptens there, Dutch football journalist. We've reached half-time in the Women's League Cup semi-finals. Man City, Chelsea, Katie Smith.
City 0, Chelsea 1, rematch of last season's final. They can never be discounted, the holders, can they? City had the better of the first half chances as well. Miedemar hitting the post just before half-time, and Shaw really should have put them ahead. She rounded Bright, she rounded Hampton in goal, but put a shot wide of the open goal under pressure from Baltimore, who then got the assist with her cross from the right, nodded in by Vika Kaptein at the back post. Defence needed to do better there. They've looked a little nervy this evening. City unbeaten since losing to Chelsea on the opening day of the season, and Chelsea making it count here once again, looking to reach a 7th final in a row. They lead by a goal to 0.
And Arsenal, Manchester United, Paul Gilmore.
Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1. Elizabeth Terland took advantage of a bad Annika Borba mistake in first half stoppage time. The Arsenal goalkeeper attempted to pass out, but it was a gift. Earlier, Terland had been involved in a penalty incident that was turned away after she went down under the challenge of Katie McCabe. Arsenal have had the better openings, but at half time it's Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1.
Two things I've just noticed, Ian Dennis. One, PSV have a player called Man, which is how Geordies finish every sentence. And two, they are really making themselves heard at St James's Park. That's some display in front of you.
Yeah, it is the tifo display. The war flags have been added again. They've replicated 10 back page headlines from down the years in the Champions League, and then right behind the goal in black and white writing, write the next headline. So Newcastle United with an opportunity to at least secure a playoff place with a win tonight. However, if they don't win, and it's a huge game as well for PSV Eindhoven, let's not forget, bearing in mind they go to the defending champions Paris Saint-Germain next week, they could be sweating on their Champions League participation after this game.
They're such an interesting side at the minute, Pat, at Newcastle, because you look at their 11 and it's incredibly strong, but the issues they have are with injuries and with backup. I mean, that back four, Trippier, Chow, Botman, Hall, that's great. Eddie Howe said Sven Botman is one of the best in the Premier League the other day, but they've had a right defensive injury crisis. They desperately need to keep these guys fit now.
They do, and the backup most of the time, well, certainly a full-back, is Lewis Miley, who you don't think of as a full-back, but he's played there and he's done very well there. I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Howe stuck him in at centre-back. He's using him absolutely everywhere, young man. But you're right, they are at the bare bones, particularly defensively. A bigger concern, I think, the last few games I've been to see Newcastle, they do tire at the end of the games because of the amount of games they've had, particularly in that midfield area. You know Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton, they're such energetic players, but at the end of the game against Manchester City, they were running a treacle. They'd given so much, but they were exhausted. And again, it showed in the Wolverhampton game, didn't it? They controlled the game, but there wasn't any spark there. So what they need to make sure is that they are strong and they're vibrant in that midfield, because the one thing PSV will do is they will have that. They will definitely have that in the midfield.
That is the sound of the welcome at St James's Park. Full commentary on the way of Newcastle against PSV Eindhoven. They're also walking out of the tunnel in the great Stade Velodrome, Marseille versus Liverpool. That one is in full on 5 Sports Extra. Now's the time to make your choice. So if you want that game, head over there and you'll be joining our commentary team of Charlie Adam and Conor McNamara. Here on 5 Live, we're focused on St James's Park. Beautiful scene set. Newcastle know they are in position. A win tonight, they will guarantee a place in at least the playoffs for the knockout round. Ian, I don't think anyone needs to hear more from me. We'll just drink it in with you and Pat Nevin.
Thank you, Steve. Got to say, the PSV supporters high up in the gods are also contributing to one of those European nights here at St James's Park as the Champions League anthem rings around the cathedral on the hill that sits in the heart of this fine city, and Newcastle United will hope to avoid 2 more games in the Champions League. However, they will hope that this isn't just 2 more games left, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, what they have to do is consider this one and nothing else at the moment. This is a game you really want to win. I mean, a point isn't really good enough if they're going to try and get top 8. So go out, win the game, love the night. I mean, you work all season getting to the Champions League. Well, enjoy it while you're there. You might as well. And I think that's what we'll see from Newcastle. They've got a real belief in themselves, this group. They've learned a lot about Champions League football over the years. And if they have got the energy, and it's not a tired-looking team tonight, they've got enough quality, but it's one of those classic ones. You look at these two teams, you look at the styles, you look at the attitudes and the management, they've got to have an exciting game. Surely it can't be a dull one in a Champions League night like tonight.
You would think not. Newcastle currently sit 13th in the league phase. They have 10 points from their 6 games. As a barometer, last season in the inaugural league phase, 10 points would not have got you a place in at least the playoffs. You needed 16 points to finish in the top 8. 11 points to 16 was that spread of points that would mean that you go into the playoffs, as the Newcastle players in their black and white shirts and white shorts break from a team photo to a real roar here on Tyneside. Pope is in goal, Trippier, Chow, Botman and Hall, Joel Linton, Guimaraes and Tonali, Barnes, Wissa and Gordon. So it's just the one change from the side that was so disappointing in that draw against Wolves at the weekend. That is Wissa for Voltemade. As for PSV, in their change strip, the all navy with the little bit of red and white checkers going down the side of their kit. Kovar is in goal, Sildilia, Schouten, Gazarovski, Salah Adin is the defence. He made 4 appearances at the recent African Cup of Nations and indeed was a substitute for Morocco in the final against Senegal. Veerman, Junior and Varna are in the midfield, and then up front you've got Maad who'll play to the right, Perisic will play to the left, and Gus Thiel will go through the middle, the Dutch international. But bearing in mind their record and Newcastle's record, Pat Nevin, I really do hope you're right. We could have a cracker here.
And we should do, because PSV, they must go out and try and win this game. The amount of teams that come in the Champions League night, try and sneak a point away from home, not good enough for PSV. So that gives us great hope for excitement.
Well, our referee, Daniel Siebert from Germany, gets us underway with PSV attacking the Gallagate end. So they are playing from left to right as we look, as that was not the best of clearances by Pope, didn't get any elevation whatsoever, and eventually Schouten, the captain, will play it out to Sildilia on this near side, quickly closed down by Gordon, and puts sufficient pressure on him to make sure that Newcastle will get a throw.
You talk about Gordon, and it's amazing the amount of work he puts in every single game. So much so that with about an hour gone, there's usually nothing left. You sometimes wonder about Anthony Gordon. Can you just take a wee rest now and again and leave something for the end?
Guimaraes has been dispossessed on that far side, the vastly experienced Croatian. Ivan Perisic will get the ball, and all of a sudden they will attack on that far side. Salah Adin back on this near side. This is Veerman, Schouten, the Dutch international, Gazarovski, and then eventually it is Sildilia, the right back, who went into a central area to pass the ball all the way back to Matej Kovar, a Czech Republic international goalkeeper. Began his career actually in England with Manchester United. No appearances during his time at Old Trafford, but did have loans away at Swindon and Burton Albion. And now he is, after being signed in the summer by PSV, plying his trade in the Netherlands after being signed from Bayer Leverkusen. 0-0. Pope, all in purple, came back to him, and he had to hurriedly clear that ball out of play. Haven't settled really, Pope, with a couple of early touches for the England keeper.
Well, he hasn't, and neither of Newcastle, because you look at that PSV side, they are not lacking in confidence on the ball. They want to control the play, and even though they're playing away from home, it's Champions League, it's against a top Premier League side, they feel that they can dominate possession, and that's what we started the game doing. It's only a couple of minutes old, but you can see that's how they want to play.
And the Newcastle supporters also are just trying to, at the minute, out-chant the very vociferous support from Eindhoven that has made that short hop across the North Sea. Back it goes to Pope, away towards our right. Botman, Hall, PSV though are quick to close Newcastle down. Hall gets away from that challenge, stumbles a little bit but keeps hold of the ball. Joel Linton. But they are aggressive in the press, aren't they, PSV?
They are, and we'll see how long they can keep it up for. They look to me as if they're a type of team that feels as if they keep on doing that, but well played out there. And young Hall, absolutely magnificent on the ball for a full-back.
Tonali was being held by Mauro Junior, Brazilian, I say defender. He can also play in midfield, he can also play at left back. He's extremely versatile, he has been integral to their success. They've won the title in the Netherlands on the last 2 seasons. As Perisic will come forward for PSV, makes good headway down that far side, the left. Been a very good start from the Dutch champions, but his cross is stopped by Chow, who has to turn, stumbles a little bit and puts it out of play for a throw.
Don't know if you noticed that Perisic's got the ball, and it was right beside Bruno Guimaraes. He took 5 yards off him, over about 3 yards. It was 30 yards. I mean, it's actually incredible when you look at Bruno, how he's actually been affected by, you know, slowing down a little bit because of the amount of work he's been asked to do.
That's even Perisic, 150 caps for Croatia. Only Luka Modric has been capped more for his country, but he's 36 years of age. Wouldn't necessarily say he's in the twilight years of his career. He's a veteran, I guess, when you're at 36, from a playing point of view, but didn't look much of a slouch.
No,
there,
he didn't. He absolutely flew by Bruno Guimaraes there, which absolutely surprised me because it was Perisic, but whatever the diet is in Croatia, I want to have some of it. I mean, Modric, they look amazing.
You and me both. Talking of which, he'll hope that tonight's appearance at St James's Park is better than the one that he had in April 2023 when he was with Tottenham, because Tottenham Hotspur that particular day were 5 down after 21 minutes and they ultimately lost by 6 goals to 1. It's 0-0 here, but there was Wissa pressing on Gazarovski. The Spanish defender was forced to concede a throw, and Newcastle's first real venture into PSV territory produces a throw on the right-hand side. They're attacking the Leazes end, for those of you who know St James's Park. Trippier level the penalty area. Infield. They try and look for Wissa. Out it goes then towards Trippier. Delivers the cross. Joe Linton with a header. Falls to Gordon on the volley. Left-footed first time over the crossbar goal kick. Listen to the Geordie roar, 0-0.
Yeah, you notice Wissa closing down there, but the press was actually started by Anthony Gordon once again, and that slightly panicked that back line there. And the pace you've got from Gordon on Wissa as well, if they can go at that pace and close down at that pace, they'll get a little bit of joy from that, I have no doubt.
Thankfully the rain has abated. A poor old engineer, Mark Ward, when he arrived at Anchor Sykes, our producer, set up our equipment in the teeming rain. They were like drowned rats as they made their way into the press room. When I arrived, I did say, do you want a hand? And they said no, and then I made a hasty retreat.
You did. You didn't even bring a brolly.
But it is dry for the time being. It is 0-0. How's it has started in the south of France? John Akers.
Crackling atmosphere at the Stade Velodrome. Marseille 0, Liverpool 0. 4 minutes of the game gone. Liverpool passing it around nicely and have made the better start. Marseille 0, Liverpool 0.
Newcastle under pressure to get points, as are Chelsea, as Joe Linton dispossesses Gazarovski, looks for the supporting run of Bruno Guimaraes. It goes out of play for a throw. There's an argument to suggest, John Southall, that Chelsea might need 2 wins.
Absolutely, with Napoli to come next, you suspect they might need to win both games. It's Chelsea 0, Paphos 0. They had all the possession in these opening 5 minutes. Also, free kick on the left-hand side. Reece James took it. Poor free kick, cleared at the near post. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Thanks, John. Don't forget the Marseille-Liverpool game is available via Sports Extra if you wish to listen to that. But here we are, 5 Live Sport. We're also available on the red button, the iPlayer, and the BBC Sport website and app, as Tonali came under pressure in the midfield from Mauro Junior, but our German referee has given a free kick to Newcastle. Pat.
Do you know Eddie Howe was talking before the game about the unusual way that PSV play, unusual and different ideas? Well, quite often when teams play out for the back, they usually have 3 at the back and one of the full backs goes into the middle. That's not what PSV do. They just keep 2 at the back with the ball with the goalkeeper. And I think Eddie Howe thinks that's a weakness. That's why he's making sure there's 2, closing those 2 down very, very quickly indeed. They've almost got some capital out of it already. Twice they've nearly caught the PSV defence with that really high close 2-on-2.
And with that in mind, you can see why Wissa is preferred to Voltemade.
Exactly, precisely why he's there.
That's Pat Nevin, as always, offering his wise insight here on 5 Live as Newcastle give the ball away again in the middle of the field. Ball is played back by Salahuddin, cleared by Kovar, goes straight to Guimaraes, early ball to Joel Linton, he's onside, Joel Linton in the area to Wissa, Newcastle score, the flag stays down, that's just what the start that Newcastle wanted, and Wissa with a goal.
we were just talking about what Eddie Howe was trying to do. He was trying to put a little bit of pressure on them when they were trying to play out for the back, and they did. They put enough pressure on them. This time the goalkeeper panicked, and he just lumped it anywhere, but he didn't get enough purchase on it. And when Newcastle got it in that midfield, they had an advantage. I was very, very impressed with Joe Linton there. Thought he was going to go for a shot, played the intelligent ball. Wissa had nothing more than a tap in. Superb by Newcastle, well done.
And the early ball as well from Guimaraes. He sensed that opportunity, didn't he?
And you can tell, looking down at Eddie Howe in front of us here, he's got the look of a man who said, yep, saw that one coming. I knew it was happening there. We set that little trap up, and it's worked a treat for them. And you see the PSV players, there's a kind of, look at all the shoulders are all down as if we weren't ready for that. Our plans are they're being taken apart already.
In the live league table, that scoreline now means that Newcastle sit it currently. They've gone from 13th to 7th. The top 8 would automatically qualify for the last 16. That's why the victory here tonight was so important. There's a stoppage in play, however.
There's definitely checked for offside. I must admit, we're not in a great angle for it, but I thought the offside ball played to Visser. I wonder why we haven't got
the ball was placed on the centre circle. They were ready for the restart, and then Bastian Dankert, who is the VAR official, has indicated to Daniel Siebert, the referee, that he needs to look at the monitor.
Well, it can't be offside, because they'd be able to tell then, surely. I hope we've not got another 6-minute here.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, which happened here last time in the Manchester City game. I've had a look at it, the referee says.
The goal stands. It was interesting there, by the way, that Voltemade was used as the translator to have a word with Daniel Schlager, the fourth official, just to have that bit of a check with the foot to make sure what it was. But Daniel Siebert, the man in the middle, is happy. I've got to say, the first thing I did when the ball was played forward, Joel Linton was definitely onside.
Yeah. That was it was pass into Visser was one I would have been concerned about, but yeah, we're getting on it here, so you can't really tell. But hey, we trust them. It didn't take 6 minutes. 1-0. Yeah. Well done, Newcastle United, because they've obviously planned that, and it's worked a treat so far.
So Newcastle are ahead. Johan Wissa with the goal, his third goal. He actually had gone 5 games without in his 13th appearance since he arrived from Brentford. Of course, he did have to bide his time after injury and to get up to speed. But certainly that team selection decision from Eddie Howe has been vindicated, as he actually now shares a joke with Daniel Schlager.
You've got to be delighted when you're the manager and you make one big call. It clearly comes off within the first 10 minutes. Not just a big, well, 2 big calls. One big call to play Visser in that position. The second one, the system they played there and the way they closed down there, it's worked a treat. And I suspect PSV have to think, can we keep on doing that? Because they keep on doing that, you see that they give goals away, they'll get goals, they'll get chances, but you know, we expected goals, expected chances in this game. It ain't finished, there's more to come.
So they've taken the lead after 8 minutes, and think back to Molineux in that dour draw at Molineux at the weekend. They didn't actually have a shot on target, Newcastle, until the 85th minute. They haven't scored in their last 2 games as Kovar goes long and direct, and actually it was Denis Mann and Ivan Perisic who were actually running for the same ball. They got in each other's way, and Newcastle United are able to clear through Trippier. His forward ball is blocked back towards the corner flag, deep in his own half, to Pope, who gets plenty of distance on that. Headed forward then by Anas Salahuddin, the Moroccan international. And then this is Veerman in the midfield, who will pass the ball back to Mathieu Kovar, who'll be ruining his poor clearance that led to the goal.
Yeah, but what option did he have? You know, he's expecting to play it for the back. There's no option to do that just now because they've been closed up so high. So he has just launched it, but you're right, he is ruining the fact that he didn't get anywhere near enough height and distance on it.
There was an upset last night, Bodo Glimt beating Manchester City as Perisic comes forward, delivers a good cross and requires Botman to head the ball away before it could get towards Thiel. There could be another upset, not necessarily in the same bracket as the Arctic Circle as last night, but Slavia Prague, who are yet to win in this year's competition, are leading Barcelona by a 0-0. A Barcelona side that at the start of play were 15th in the table, and at 10 points themselves, not guaranteed a place in the playoffs.
No, they absolutely would like to get at least a point out of that one to give themselves a chance for the last game. But it's one of the things about, you know, the way they've changed the Champions League. You wondered if it would leave dull games at the end. Actually, most of the games have got something to play for, so it tends to work. Well, it has so far.
Yeah. But Marn comes forward. Tonali will run back with the remaining international, but he makes good ground on this near side, the right. Tonali has stayed with him. Marn keeps the ball in play. No, he doesn't. It'll be a goal kick. We'll nib off to Stoke. It's another 8 o'clock kick-off. It's in the Championship. Middlesbrough looking to go back ahead of Ipswich at the top. Lee Blakeman.
Stoke have started the better of the two teams, Ian. Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 0. Stoke with a chance a few moments ago. Thomas, their top scorer, with the ball in from the left. Cisse waiting for the tap in 4 yards out, but it was Malander who was there to put the ball behind for a corner. Stoke 0, Middlesbrough 0.
That's one of 3 games in the Championship. Watford 0, Portsmouth 0, and Southampton 7 without a win in the Championship are leading Sheffield United by a goal to 0 at St Mary's. The 2 results in the Champions League earlier: Galatasaray 1, Atletico Madrid 1, and Karabag 3, Eintracht Frankfurt 2. Karabag go to Anfield next Wednesday for the final set of matches in the league phase. PSV trailing by a goal to 0 here at St James's Park on a blustery night on Tyneside, as Peter Bosz, the bald-headed coach with his light brown puffer jacket, just applauds as his team advance downfield. Pat Nevin.
Intriguing the way they were slightly panicked for a wee while, PSV, but they've kind of found their mojo again. They're passing the ball well, they've got the confidence back a little bit. One of the things that they're trying to do is they're trying to press really high up when there's goal kicks from Newcastle as well. And what it tends to leave is 4v4 when they play it long, and I think Eddie Howe likes that. I mean, Pope's on the ball just now, he's looking, and as I say that, number 17 Junior's going back. No, 4v4 right in front of us. So I suspect Pope's been expected to thump this long from goal kicks as often as he can.
That's Gordon on this near side, the left. Barnes is the one on the right. Joe Linton pushed up alongside Wissa. Barnes making a nuisance of himself, and it required Schouten, the captain, to clatter the ball out of play for a throw over on that right-hand side that Newcastle want to take quickly. A goal at Stoke City. Lee Blakeman.
It's gone to Stoke. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0. Thomas Rigo with the shot from 20 yards out. Squirmed under the dive of goalkeeper Solbrin, and that's gone with the run of play. Deserved lead for Stoke. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0.
Middlesbrough, who'd won 2 of their last 3 games, and a point behind Ipswich as they are 3rd at the top of the Championship, looking for that second automatic promotion spot behind the leaders, Coventry City. This is the Champions League. It's live on 5 Live, and Newcastle United are ahead on Sports Extra. It is currently Marseille 0, Liverpool 0, and there's no goals between Chelsea and Paphos at Stamford Bridge, as PSV get a free kick midway through the Newcastle half.
And the style of the game's gone back to the way it was right at the start. PSV holding the ball well, pressing Newcastle. And Newcastle getting forward. Most of the time it is from set pieces. You know, some free kicks of their own, deep, played long, you know, sometimes goal kicks, again, played long. It's almost as if Eddie Howe saying, yeah, have a little bit of the ball there. We can defend, but we're going to break quickly.
Well, Newcastle manager having his name chanted by the Newcastle supporters at yet another sellout crowd here at St James's Park, 52,000. He's in conversation at the moment with Jason Tindall. PSV have got a free kick. Veerman, midway through the Newcastle half, fractionally left of centre, stands over it, unless it's going to be whipped in by the left foot of Salahuddin, who's eyeing it up as well. Newcastle have got a line of black and white striped shirts on the edge of the penalty area. It will be left to Salahuddin. Veerman just with a decoy run. In fact, no, it will be Veerman who comes back and takes it, and Joe Linton pedalling back in his own half to head it away. Guimaraes battles for the ball, breaks away from him. Perisic with a cross, scuffed it somewhat from the left-hand side, and Guimaraes can clear the ball away long for Newcastle, who lead by a goal to 0.
And Guimaraes has gone down, and I just wonder, you know, I was talking about how he looked a little bit sluggish at the start of the game. And I don't know if it's a knock, but when you're that sluggish, you wonder, are you carrying some sort of injury? And he has gone straight down, he's flat on his back, spread eagled in the ground. Maybe he just wants a rest, but to be fair, you don't go down like that unless you've got a bit of an injury. So a little bit of a concern for Eddie Howe and Newcastle fans. He's up again now, but he is hobbling a bit.
Atalanta are leading Athletic Bilbao by a goal to nil in Bergamo. 3 successive wins in the Champions League, and another one tonight would guarantee a top 8 finish for Atalanta. They're 1-0 up. Chelsea Paphos, John Southall.
It's Chelsea 0, Paphos 0, but Chelsea have just had a goal disallowed. Enzo Fernandez at the back post with the header, but deemed to have pushed the defender Sima while scoring. Disallowed. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
That defeat for Chelsea actually at Atalanta could prove costly, couldn't it, for them?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the time you thought, there's plenty to go, but they've great belief that Chelsea can win this one, and that will get them safely, I would suspect, into the playoffs.
Just notice as well, it's the former West Ham striker Gianluca Scamacca who's got that goal, as here is Gordon. Newcastle already leading by a goal to nil, but Gordon loses it. Joel Linton tries to win it back, helped out by Gordon, and then Tonali, who then actually passes the ball towards Thiel, who can run forward for PSV on this right-hand side. His low cross, though, is towards Chow, and then Botman eventually clears it. Bouncing ball headed forward by Schouten, flicked on then by Maro Junior, and eventually it will be Hall in his left back, who's closed down by Thiel, who will get a goal kick. So Newcastle are 1-0 up. We've heard from Chelsea. This commentary on Sports Extra of Marseille-Liverpool. The latest from John Akers.
Marseille 0, Liverpool 0, 17 minutes of the game gone. It's not really got going yet. Liverpool have just won a corner. Joe Gomez headed wide from the last one, although there was an infringement in the penalty area. And Marseille do look a threat on the break. They've scored 22 in their last 6. It's Marseille 0, Liverpool 0.
Tomorrow night we've got more European action for you on Sports Extra. Bologna Celtic at 5:45 in the Europa League, followed by Rangers against Ludogorets at 8. This is the Champions League, as it is Barnes. I thought that might have gone out for a throw, who'd looked to try and put pressure on Saladin, but it cannoned away off the legs of the former Leicester City player, and it's gone out for a goal kick to PSV. We've been playing for 20 minutes.
It's very noticeable that Newcastle are not controlling this game. They're 1-0 up, yeah, and they look dangerous every time they break. The tactics have looked good for them so far, but in terms of control of the game, this PSV side, they look very, very dangerous to me, and certainly in the midfield, they've got so much energy that I think Newcastle midfield are finding it tough.
I do think that one goal won't be enough for Newcastle United tonight. When you look at the record of PSV, they've scored in each of their last 12 Champions League games since they were beaten by Brest in December 2024. So they've got a habit of finding the net, and they do have this formidable away record. As a stumble by Trippier, Maro Junior passes the ball out wide. Perisic with a cross from the left-hand side, gathered in by Nick Pope. Arsenal, Manchester United in the Women's League Cup semi-final. Paul Gilmore.
Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1. Arsenal responding well to falling behind to that Turlin goal in first half stoppage time. Manham shot over Russo, swept wide, but they have yet to find an equaliser. Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1.
Goes out for a PSV throw on that far side. The other semi, well, the last we heard from Katie Smith, Chelsea were ahead.
And they still are. City 0, Chelsea 1, but City getting ever so close to that equaliser. They've hit the post again through Kirsten Kasparov. Lauren Hemp creating all sorts of bother, and a lovely little link up just now between Hasegawa playing Miedemar in behind. A brilliant save from Hannah Hampton. City 0, Chelsea 1.
Champions League here on 5 Live with updates in all the different competitions up and down the country. Barnes is tripped. Free kick for Newcastle midway through the PSV half on the right.
Yeah, Barnes getting on the ball, taking on his man for the first time, and it looks really comfortable. I think he's more comfortable on the left. I think it looks much, much better. But considering that Anthony Gordon over that left side has got that position sewn up, Barnes has to stay right. He's not bad there, but he's not quite got as good a understanding with Trippier as he did have with Livramento before him, I don't think.
Trippier to take the free kick, just in from the right touchline, fires this one in. Headed away though by Perisic. Trippier, those two of course contested that World Cup semi-final in Moscow in 2018. Indeed, it was Trippier that gave England the lead, and it was Perisic, wasn't it, who equalised for Croatia. From memory, I've just had a flashback.
I feel comfortable in that strip because it looks like a Croatian away strip, doesn't it?
It does, with a little bit of the checkers going down the side and the red and white colours. As Tonali hits it deep inside the area, Botman gets it back from Chow. Two central defenders were combining, and on the half volley, He's then hit it with the outside of his left boot off target for a goal kick, but it looked promising for a time. Into the Championship now to Vicarage Road, Andy Stevenson.
No goals, but a dramatic few moments just now. At one end, Portsmouth were certain James Abankwah had handballed it in the area, but referee Ben Toner waved away their appeals. And then on the breakaway, Watford's Otmain Marma burst into the box, put his shot wide. Watford 0, Portsmouth 0.
Still Newcastle United leading by a goal to 0. No goals in Marseille or at Stamford Bridge. Botman holding off the run of Thiel. Almost runs into the trouble in the shape of Marn. And then won back, though, by Sildilia, the right back. Here he is with his braided hair, looking for Marn, who scored a great goal against Napoli earlier in the competition when they beat Napoli 6-2. They have scored some excellent goals actually in this competition, and some impressive results to boot.
Yeah, I mean, he scored 4 against Liverpool at Anfield. That's not bad, is it? But that 6-2 game was really impressive because the way that they broke was actually stunning. They get so many players forward, there seemed such energy, and it kept on going for the entirety of the game. A lot of the goals were scored later on in that game, so there's no lack of energy in this side.
Certainly Newcastle, I think with the early goal would have helped settle a few nerves here on Tyneside as Barnes to Trippier, short pass out to the right. Guimaraes tries to help it on towards Barnes. It'll go out for a Newcastle throw. It was neatly worked down that far side, and Trippier wants to take this free kick quickly. He's not quite at the midway point of the PSV half as he goes back to Sven Botman, who last week signed that new deal to keep him at the club until 2030. A Dutch defender who Eddie Howe has been full of praise for, and along with Malik Chow, having to try and deal with matters because Kraft, Byrne, Asula, Murphy, Scher, Livramento and Lascelles are all out injured. So it's a squad that has certainly been stretched.
Yeah, particularly in that back line. The centre-backs are really pushed. If he loses another one at any point in this game, it'd be interesting to see what Eddie Howe does.
Guimaraes might just have caught Joey Veerman in the midfield. The referee is going to show a yellow card there for the Newcastle United captain. So Guimaraes is booked. Stoppage in play at St James's Park, and a goal in Marseille. John Akers.
And a goal for Liverpool. It's Ekitike. They're going to have a look at this. It could be ruled out for offside, but it's a great low cross from Soboslai, and there is Ekitike, near post, puts it in, but I think this could be ruled out for offside. Marseille 0, Liverpool 1 at the moment. We've got confirmation. It has been ruled out for offside.
So back at 0-0, commentary on Sports Extra. We don't get the chance, we've got no monitors to hear to see that again, but Veerman is clearly in a great deal of pain and is still down.
Absolutely. And when you see that happening, and the referee had a little word there with the assistant referee who's the far side, who's a lot closer to it, as if to say, is there anything worse than a yellow card there? Is there something I've missed? No doubt it'll be VAR have a little bit of a look at it, but from here it looked like, yeah, a free kick, possible yellow card. Let's hope there's no more than that.
So the midfielder is down at the moment and still getting tended to. So back to 0-0 in Marseille. It remains 0-0 between Chelsea and Paphos. So only 3 goals in the games that kicked off at 8 o'clock in the Champions League. Atalanta 1-0 up against Athletic Bilbao, and Slavia Prague still leading Barcelona by 1-0. Any sign of a goal at Stamford Bridge, John?
Well, Chelsea still have all the possession. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0. They've hardly ventured out of their own half, Paphos, but Chelsea just struggling to break them down at the moment. That one disallowed effort from Fernandes, but apart from that, not much. Chelsea have a corner. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Veerman's back on his feet, but judging by his reaction to the point that you just mentioned before, I think that he thinks it should have been more.
Yep, that's what he's complaining about, and he's certainly had a word with everyone he possibly can. It's a very, very painful one, and as we keep on saying, in a cold night like tonight, he'll have felt that one, but the referee's seen enough, and they obviously feel that, it would have to be something very serious for them to change his decision on the field.
So play is back underway, and I spoke too soon about it being dry, as spots of rain start to appear on the lenses of the glasses, which is never a good thing.
Yeah. It's not a complaint. I mean, we're very fortunate here in a brilliant position right above the dugouts. But it's one of the few places where the rain does come in, but we're not the only ones that are getting rained on.
Yeah, but I'm just looking to my right, and you're a wise man. You're wearing a baseball cap to shield your own glasses.
Exactly. Well thought through.
I only have a bucket hat, which I carry for the sun, which I might have to delve into at one point. As Tonali, forward ball, stopped by Maro Jr., goes in search of it. Trippier releases it to Guimarães. He runs into trouble into Salah-Ad-Din. Veerman clears it early towards Teal. Marn makes the run through the middle, stopped by Hall, got the ball in a well-timed challenge. Marn has stayed down. Guimarães now looks for the early ball. Gazarovski heads it away, picked back up then by Schouten. And despite Marn staying down, Teal is actually going to stop and put the ball out of play to enable his teammate to get some treatment. So we'll go to Stoke and Lee Blakeman.
Stoke have just hit the crossbar with an absolute thunderbolt. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0. Million Manhoef back in the starting 11 tonight. Inside the D has just hit one with his left foot and it's crashed against the crossbar. Middlesbrough, considering they can go second tonight, haven't created anything in the opening half hour. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0.
The ball's going to be knocked back to PSV, Pat.
Yeah, interesting that. And I did think that was a free kick for PSV. Obviously, there's no doubt in my mind that Telford, they've done it again.
Wisser in towards Gordon, and another defensive mistake. Wisser so alert, and there was Gordon from close range. He cannot stop scoring in the Champions League. It is 6 goals in 7 Champions League this season, and Newcastle United have such an important cushion. 2-0.
We talked right at the start of the game the fact that Eddie Howe would say to his team, right, they're going to play 2 against 2 when they play out. That's a dangerous game. He said that they do weird things and unusual things. Well, that's weird, bordering on stupid. Because if you get players of the pace of Wisser, and obviously of Anthony Gordon too, if you make the slightest mistake, the slightest poor touch, they will be on you in a millisecond. That is exactly what's happened once again. And Newcastle won't score 2 easier goals this season. Nice easy tap in for Anthony Gordon. And that is nothing more than good tactics and good knowledge from the manager telling his players what to do.
That really was a gift for Gordon.
Absolutely. You can't believe how easy it was there. And again, they're all turning around the manager as if to say, yeah, you've obviously watched that. No, it's not just Eddie Howe. It's his backroom staff that said, look, there's a weakness here. We have to profit for this weakness. Through the entirety of the game so far, I'm not sure Newcastle have been massively the better side. I'll tell you what, tactically they have.
Yeah. And now leading PSV by 2-0 here in the Champions League, and that is huge for Newcastle United. And both mistakes from PSV, the first by the goalkeeper Cobar, and then that second one where they were just caught out at the back, have been punished.
It is one of those classic ones. Everybody knows that there's more goals these days given away by trying to play out for the back, but that just looks stupid.
Here now is Barnes, right hand side. Salah-Ad-Din closes him down. Barnes runs on the inside. Little drag flick there by Guimarães. Look for the continued run of Barnes, but PSV were alert to it on that occasion. Perisic has cleared it away downfield to Hall. Hall's header loops into the path of Joe Linton, couldn't control it. Shouting from the back, Hall wins it back. Newcastle now have their tails up. 2-0, and urged to keep going forward by this expectant crowd at St James's Park. Gordon on the left, level with the area. Hall has stayed on the attack. Hall feels for handball more from the crowd than the players. Gordon now delivers the cross, it's a deep one, and curls all the way out of play for a goal kick. 2-0 though for Newcastle. 13 minutes remaining.
So what do you do if you're PSV? You've got a game plan. You always play it out for the back exactly the same way. You've done it twice, you're 2 goals down. Are you going to keep on doing the same thing? Look at it just now right in front of us. No. His keepers went, no, not doing it. We're going off the game plan, I'm just going to lump it. Good sense, but it's taken 2 goals for that good sense to come to fruition.
Well, the penny certainly had to drop on that occasion because Newcastle were primed. We'll go back to Stamford Bridge. John Southall.
Yes, Chelsea 0, Paphos 0, but the first chance for the Cypriot side, Jar Jar into the penalty area. His shot deflected, could have gone anywhere, went inches wide of the left post, off the arm of Reece James. They wanted a penalty, Paphos. VAR looked at it, didn't give it. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
PSV is so uncertain at the back. That was Schouten. The long ball had dropped out of the air, and as soon as he's touched it and controlled it, he's got Wissa breathing down his neck.
And they just are really panicking. They're really, really edgy every time they get the ball, because they know they've made mistakes. They know there's every chance that if they take any more mistakes, that's a terrible tackle, that. Referee's got to go to his pocket there, surely, for a yellow card.
Well, that was Mauro Junior.
Taking him a wee while.
No, it wasn't. It was Sildilia, wasn't it, who's been shown the yellow card. So Sildilia, the right back, has been booked by the German referee, and that is the second yellow card of the game. Newcastle lead 2-0. Where will we go next on 5 Live? It's half-time at Vicarage Road. Andy Stevenson.
Where it's goalless, but Portsmouth have been the better side. They were screaming for a penalty on the half-hour mark when it looked like Watford defender James Abankwah touched a corner with his hand, but nothing given. At the other end, Luca Kiramgard diverted a Jeremy Ngaki across just over the bar. Watford 0, Portsmouth 0.
Southampton also at half-time are leading Sheffield United in the Championship. They're still playing in that 8 o'clock kick-off between Stoke City and Middlesbrough. Pat?
You know, you often look at coaches and teams who have a very dogmatic way of playing, and it doesn't matter if things go wrong, they keep on doing the same thing. And I always think it is really dim. I know you think, oh, our way's the way to do it, and there's 2 ways to do it, this way and do this way better. But it's such a mistake so far for PSV. They need to adapt.
Newcastle are attacking. Gordon, left-hand side of the area. Gordon towards the byline with a cutback. And there was Schouten to turn the ball behind for a corner kick. Newcastle certainly looked sharp there.
Well, you said it, Ian. Tails up. That second goal, they realised they weren't going to lock the ball in the midfield. Then they get the second goal, pressure's off, take your time. Everybody wants the ball, real comfort. Feel the edginess in the opposition as well. Everything in Newcastle's favour right now, 10 minutes before the break.
Corner kick then for Newcastle, attacking the Leesy's end, playing from right to left. It's on this near side to left. It'll be an in-swinger from Trippier. In it comes now. The goalkeeper gets both hands to it, punches the ball away. Hall has got time to direct his header to the right corner of the area. Gordon with the cross. Gazarovski will head it away. It'll drop to Hall. Has to control it. A little bit caught into possession, but Wissa runs the long way around to keep it going for Newcastle and running forward. Left-hand side, Wissa with a left-footed cross. Kovar, the keeper, catches it and now looks for an early release out towards Perisic on that far side. Taken neatly off the chest, but there was his Trippier to clear the ball away. PSV with Perisic, the former Tottenham man, leaving it now for Veerman. His cross into the area. Chow with a header away, helped further away by Barnes with another header, and then lifted downfield by Guimaraes, but he's gone down again as Guimaraes.
I've thought that. Honestly, I've thought that right from the start of the game. He's not looked right to me.
No. He's just signalled he can't continue either, Pat.
And to be honest, I think he'd been taken off at half-time anyway, because he's on a yellow card. He wasn't quite up to the pace of the game, and I suspect he's like a lot of players, he's playing with an injury, but it's too much of an injury. He's so much lower than everyone else, and you'll get caught out if you do that. He's gone down again, and well, obviously they've got a ready-made replacement in Lewis Miley.
Well, they're playing 9 games in the month of January. It would be 8 if they're in the playoffs next month as well. So then you'd be looking at something like 17 games in a 55-day period. So that is intense amount of football. And Guimaraes, the game's coming up. Villa at home here on Sunday, live on 5 Live. Paris Saint-Germain away on Wednesday. Then they've got Liverpool away and Manchester City away. Into the Women's League Cup semi-final. Paul Gilmore watching Arsenal-Manchester United.
Well, Arsenal still putting a lot of pressure on Manchester United, who lead by a goal to nil. That despite the task being a little more difficult after that Olivia Smith's second yellow card. But yeah, still putting a lot of pressure on them. It's Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1.
Barcelona have equalised in the Czech Republic. Slavia Prague 1, Barcelona 1. Chelsea Paphos, John Southall.
Still Chelsea 0, Paphos 0, but Chelsea have just upped the tempo. Caicedo, the shot 12 yards out, saved by Gorta. Ball was played back in, and there was Badiashile with a header just inches wide. You just sense the goal is coming. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Newcastle leading here 2-0. Liverpool thought they'd taken the lead, but it was disallowed. John Akers watching Marseille-Liverpool.
10 minutes to half-time. Marseille 0, Liverpool 0. Guiri's had a right foot shot saved by Alisson. It was quite smart. It was well struck. And Ekitike, that goal ruled out for offside. McAllister went close before that with a shot across the goalkeeper. Marseille 0, Liverpool 0.
Guimaraes is eventually on his feet after treatment. Manchester City, Chelsea in the Women's League Cup semis. Katie Smith.
City still pushing, but they've got 10 minutes left to play. City 0, Chelsea 1. Both keepers feeling it tonight. Yamashita, great save from close range, near post from Lauren James, who's come on as a sub. And just after that, Hasegawa, volley from the D. A stunning save from Hannah Hampton once again. City 0, Chelsea 1.
The manner in which Bruno Guimaraes is heavily limping on that far side, I can't see him continuing.
Yeah, we give him every chance, you know. But he just looks to me like a guy who knows I'm not 100%. You know, there's such a danger if a player's not quite at his best and he's on a yellow card. All you need to do is one late challenge there. That's all you need, and the game could be totally turned on its head. So, big decision to make just now about Bruno Guimaraes.
He's still off the field of play, and it was interesting, the nous of Kieran Trippier, realising he was going to be off for at least 30 seconds, he brought everybody in and said to Newcastle to be tight and compact as PSV attacked. Veerman with his shot, edge of the area. For all the talk about PSV, and they might have had some nice approach play, but there's been no end product from them.
Not so far, and they've been managed really well. I mean, that back line has stayed really steady, and the players you expect to create something, the full-backs have done well. You know, Trippier's done his man marking. Perisic, although a great player, he's not really going to get past Trippier there, so he's looking for space there. He's cheating a little bit, he's knocking back, he's not chasing back, he's hoping to get the ball in space, but they've not got good enough ball there. And on the left hand side, well, Hall's been absolutely fantastic. Man's not got a sniff from him so far.
Guimaraes is back on the field of play, still not running freely, but he's trying to run it off. Newcastle leading by 2-0 against PSV Eindhoven here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Back it goes to the PSV goalkeeper. Kovar clears. Botman able to just drop it forward towards Joe Linton. His pass goes astray. Gordon, no, terrier-like, tries to win it back, and Newcastle actually benefit with a throw. The last touch coming from a rather bemused Dennis Mann.
Just watching Eddie Howe and everyone looking over at Bruno saying, can you carry on? What's the answer? And he's not giving them a clear answer yet, other than hobbling.
I mean, he did indicate that he didn't want to continue, but you can see he's grimacing as we sit low down here.
He can't move at all.
Barnes shuffles the ball forward towards Wissa. Wissa looks for the return towards Barnes, but Gazarovski, the long-haired defender, turns and clears as he falls to the floor inside his own penalty area. 4 minutes to go to the break, and Newcastle United are leading PSV by 2-0. Still no goals between Chelsea and Paphos and Marseille and Liverpool. As now back it goes to Pope, all in purple. Outside the Davies penalty area, there's a wayward ball that Joe Linton couldn't control. Opportunity now maybe for PSV to come forward. It is with Veerman, who chips it out towards Perisic on that far side. He delivers the cross, but Botman, towering in the air, heads it away. Only as far as Veerman, who puts it back in. Mann will head it right-hand side of the penalty area. And then it's with Sildilia, back out towards Mann, making the run forward was Schouten. From the back, by the way, a central defender joining the attack on the right-hand side. But Newcastle now with Hall weaving his way out of trouble. He looks so comfortable on the ball, does Lewis Hall. Been a very impressive...
Exception, absolutely exceptional. And when you look at international fullbacks, not very many as good with the ball at their feet.
And what is he? He's 21 years of age. He's certainly a real prospect for both club and country. Schouten to Gazarovski, 21 years of age himself, a Spanish central defender who they signed from Valencia in the summer. Veerman in the midfield, nowhere to go really, except backwards. Edged back towards his own penalty area, and then his forward ball on the left. and Trippier is able to tidy that one up back towards Pope. Tonali's header goes over the head of Joel Linton, and PSV have it. 2.5 minutes to go to the break. John Southall at Stamford Bridge.
3 minutes to half-time, still Chelsea 0, Paphos 0. Chelsea being frustrated. Another chance for Caicedo, again denied by the Paphos keeper. Gorta, Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
PSV in possession. Sildilia the right back. Gordon in front of him, and it'll go out for a PSV throw. Hold on, there's a PSV player on the far side.
Yes, he has it. It's not Perisic, because he's
Saladin,
a little bit further.
The left back, who has just indicated that he's not in a position to continue. So he only made the 4 appearances for Morocco at the recent African Cup of Nations. He was a late substitute in the final against Senegal. He's on loan from Roma, the 23-year-old, but he's clearly indicated with the roll of the wrist that he wants to come off.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's the weirdest thing. I'm watching Bruno Guimaraes. Can't keep my eyes off him just now. He's said twice, take me off. And then when they've got a player ready to strip to go, he's went, oh, no, wait. He's done it twice now. And the manager keeps on shouting over, well, make your mind up. Yeah. And I think you probably have to wait till half-time. It's only a few minutes of it.
Well, I just wonder if Peter Bosz is tempted to do the same as well. If Saladin was to come off, then Mauro Junior does have that option from midfield to revert to left back, and indeed they are going to make the change, and it is going to be Armando Obispo, who's a Curaçao international. He's going to be coming on to replace Saladin at left back, so they are not going to wait, are PSV. Barcelona have turned it around in the Czech Republic. 2 goals for Fermin Lopez. They now lead by 2 goals to 1. Slavia Prague 1, Barcelona 2. We're inside the last 30 seconds, and Saladin is going to be coming off, and Obispo will be coming on.
It's interesting because Obispo usually plays centre-back, doesn't he? So I think he makes his centre-back, move one of the other centre-backs over to the left-back area. We'll see if that makes them look a bit tidier, that centre-back area, because they've not looked good there at all, PSV.
We'll find out how much stoppage time we're into.
6
minutes of stoppage time. Newcastle leading PSV 2-0, and Newcastle on the attack with Trippier, and over the halfway line on that far side. Plenty of black and white shirts to aim for, but it's cleared by Veerman up to Perisic, and as Trippier was forward, it required Chow to slot in and cover for the advancing right back.
Yeah, really comfortable play there. And right, okay, for updating Bruno, 3rd time he's now asked to come off. He keeps on asking. I think the manager, look at Eddie Howe. It's like, honestly, pure theatre. Eddie's going, well, if I do it again, he'll just say no again.
But again, he's hobbling severely. As the cross comes in from the right, stopped and should be cleared by Botman. He gets it back to Gordon. Interception though by Sildilia on this near side. Botman's clearance was driven across towards Barnes, sliced up in the air by Gazarovski. I think it's Gazarovski actually who's gone in at left back, hasn't it?
Yep.
As you quite rightly said, Obispo now partnering Schouten at the heart of the PSV defence. Slavia Prague have equalised. Slavia Prague 2, Barcelona 2, and a Robert Lewandowski own goal has brought the Czech side level. Mann attacking on this near side, looks to go in between both Hall and Gordon, almost succeeds. Gordon plays it to Joe Linton, and he'll lay it out to this near side, and Hall will clear long for Newcastle United, and still shouting and crouching and barking out the orders is Eddie Howe, as here is Schouten in field towards Veerman, who drops deep. This is Mann. Was that little chuckle I noticed, was that nothing to do with Bruno?
Yes,
was it,
again,
by a matter
honestly,
of fact?
it's actually, I mean, it shouldn't be funny watching a player when he's limping, but he should have come off 10 minutes ago. It was obvious, but he's still on now.
Miley is now finally stripped for action, and Bruno Guimaraes is indeed going to get his wish. So Lewis Miley, the youngest player in European competition in Newcastle's history, when he played against Borussia Dortmund some 3 years ago, he will come on for Bruno Guimaraes, who is being instructed by the German referee you have got to leave the field of play at the Gallagate end. Do not walk off towards the halfway line, and that will give him an opportunity, yes, to milk the crowd and the applause. However, hobbling is the last thing that injury wanted.
You can't guess what the injury is. It looks as if he's damaged his ankle in some way, just by the way he's moving. But he's got a long old walk across here to come as well, which is not going to help that ankle at all.
Long throw comes in from the right, punched away by Pope. We'll get an update from Marseille-Liverpool. John Akers.
Free kick for Liverpool, about 20 yards out. Szoboszlai strikes it and scores! And Liverpool are ahead in Marseille right on the stroke of half-time. It was low, a daisy cutter, but a huge goal for Liverpool. Marseille 0, Liverpool 1.
Well, that was good timing.
Excellent, superb timing. And no, it's brilliant news for Liverpool. Brilliant team to score as well. So good news for Liverpool, but very, very questionable news for Newcastle, because Hall's gone down there, holding his back. It's one of those ones that's going to be as stiff as a board tonight.
No physio was required for Lewis Hall, who looks like he's all right to continue, I would suspect, Pat.
Yeah, he's been brilliant so far. He's worked really, really hard. Really, really good in the ball. But this kind of the rhythm's going out of this game in the last 3 or 4 minutes, and that's not a bad thing at all for Newcastle United, because just see it out, try and get to half-time at 2-0, and they've done that. Well, they've nearly done that.
I'd said earlier that Newcastle's scoreline, they are leading 2-0, had propelled them into the top 8, but with Liverpool now leading by a goal to 0, they now move into 5th, and Newcastle drop to 8th. So as it currently stands, they would be in a position that would guarantee them automatic qualification for the last 16. There is a caveat to that. They're at Paris Saint-Germain next Wednesday.
Yeah, and they'll need points there, without a shadow of a doubt. But as I keep on saying, you cannot think about that now. You just need to think about this game, try and win it. And I was thinking earlier, get a second goal, you can maybe relax. Actually, you probably need a third to fully relax in this game.
2-0 they lead. We're in stoppage time here at St James's Park. The ball scooped out by Joe Linton to Hall, shaking off the effects of that jarred back. Gordon's forward ball, Whistle with a layoff. Hall's continued his run, slick move down the left-hand side, cut out by Abisso on the edge of his penalty area. Mauro Jr. plays it back towards Schouten. In fact, the team who are currently above Newcastle are Paris Saint-Germain. They are both on 13 points. Paris Saint-Germain and Newcastle, who meet next week. Newcastle now have some defending to do as the ball is passed out towards the left-hand side. Perisic to measure the cross, and it comes from the left, deep, curling away out of the penalty area, drops over the head of Junior. Kept in play, forward now. Mann with the cross, good header out by Chow. Here is Wissa, tried to lift it over the head of Veerman. PSV tried to play it back to the edge of the box. There is Schouten. Time on the ball as well, no one going towards him, able to pass the ball into the penalty area. This is an opportunity. There is a shot on target in the end, coming in from Paul Varner, who we've hardly mentioned in the midfield, but it was a very tame effort, left-footed, curling, no pace on it, easily saved by Pope.
Yeah, but it's that moment just before half-time. PSV had managed to sneak a goal right now. What a difference, what a complete difference it would make to the game. The negativity you would feel around Newcastle's bench and the management and all the players there had lost a goal, and they've not quite seen it out. You feel these last few moments are very, very important in the game.
Joel Linton climbs, and there's a big aerial advantage that he has over Mauro Jr., the diminutive midfielder, but his forward header. So the two Brazilians challenged in the air. Is eventually back towards Kovar. The wind picks up on this chilly night in the northeast, where Newcastle United have a 2-goal cushion, looking to try and spin away is Gustil over on that far side. The top scorer, 14 goals in his 27 appearances this season. It hasn't had a sight of goal here tonight, and there is indeed the half-time whistle. And Newcastle United are 2-0 up. Defensive errors from PSV punished by Wissa and Gordon after 8 and 30 minutes. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, errors, but they were enforced errors, and they were pushed. And before the game, it's quite clear that They've got a method of coming out for the back. It has failed spectacularly for PSV, but you've got to spot it, and you've got to be brave enough to go and push it on, and that's exactly what Newcastle did, and they've got the 2 goals for it. I don't think they'll be miles ahead of PSV as a team, but you get the technical things right, and that can win you games. And right now, totally in the driving seat, but the last thing you want to do now is make any silly mistakes and give PSV a sniff. 2 goals seems like a lot, but 1 goal to PSV anytime like 10 or 15 minutes and the entire tie changes.
Yes, so far so good, but they cannot afford to be complacent. However, at half-time, it is Newcastle United 2, PSV Eindhoven 0.
Back with you guys in a second. At the Velodrome, John Akers, well, Marseille punished for no draft excluder in January.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking exactly the same. So Soboslai's free kick, 20 yards out to the right of the D, and he's seen there's no draft excluder, and it's hard to do, but he's gone under the wall. Just the right amount of pace. The goalkeeper got a hand to it, but it wasn't enough, and the wall jumped, and Liverpool lead at the Stade Velodrome. They went ahead through Ekitike, but it was ruled out by the VAR for offside. Correct decision. Marseille, they forced 1 save out of Alisson, have looked dangerous on the break, but it's Liverpool who have the advantage at half-time, 1-0.
So 2 for Newcastle, 1 for Liverpool, and none for Chelsea, John Southall.
Absolutely, frustration for Chelsea. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0, and Paphos will be absolutely delighted with this. Chelsea have had the chances. Reece James with a 20-yard, a great strike wide of the left-hand post. Disallowed goal. Enzo Fernandez with the header at the back post, adjudged to have pushed Lucassen in the process. He was absolutely furious with that, Fernandez. Caicedo's been denied twice by Gorta. Badia Shields guided a shot wide. Then right on half-time, Harto on the left of the area, and there again was the keeper for Paphos. And arguably the away side have had the best chance. Jar Jar into the area, shot deflected off the arm of Reece James, scuffed the left-hand post. They wanted a penalty. VAR looked at it, but James's arm was in a natural position. So Chelsea, this is a game they have to win. And at half-time, it's Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Other big scores in the Champions League. Slavia Prague 2, Barcelona 2 at half-time. So Slavia Prague went 1-0 up. Bear in mind, they're one of only 2 teams who haven't won a single game in the competition yet this season. Then they were pegged back. Barcelona, through Fermin Lopez, took the lead, but just before half-time, a Robert Lewandowski own goal has made it 2-2 at half-time. Other half-time scores for you, like they are at Stamford Bridge, it's 0-0 in the game between Juventus and Benfica and Bayern Munich and Union Saint-Gilloise. The other game, Atalanta lead Athletic Bilbao by 1-0. Earlier, famous win for Karabag of Azerbaijan. They beat Frankfurt with a last-minute goal. That was 3-2. And they're now 18th, so they're in position to qualify for the playoff round. The other game finished Galatasaray 1, Atletico Madrid 1. We've got our first Women's League Cup finalist because it's finished at the Joy Stadium. Katie Smith.
City 0, Chelsea 1. So Chelsea back into the final. Entertaining game, but City will be kicking themselves. So many opportunities. Hit the post twice. Shaw missed an open goal. And Hannah Hampton once again making some stunning saves. So it means Chelsea into a record-extending 7th straight final in March. The goal, a header at the back post from Vika Kaptein. Otherwise, they weren't really at their best. While for City, only their 2nd loss of the season, but 2nd at the hands of Chelsea. So back to the drawing board for Andre Yaglert, because in 11 days' time, Steve, they play each other again in the league for a top-of-the-table clash. But Chelsea into the final, City 0, Chelsea 1.
And now we've got our second finalist because it's finished at Meadow Park. Paul Gilmore.
The full-time whistle has just gone. Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1. Annika Borba's mistake. She gifted a pass to match winner Elizabeth Terland in first half stoppage time is enough to send Manchester United to their first League Cup final. Arsenal's task was made more difficult when Olivia Smith was shown a second yellow card on 61 minutes. But even with 10 players, Arsenal put Manchester United under pressure, but they didn't create enough clear-cut openings. It is finished here. Arsenal 0, Manchester United 1.
So Chelsea-Manchester United Women's League Cup final, Ashton Gate on March the 15th. Half-time in the Championship, Stoke City and Middlesbrough. Lee Blakeman.
Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0. Wide open this game. It's been a good watch. Thomas Rigo with the only goal of it. Shot from 20 yards, hard and low, and it squirmed under goalkeeper Sol Bryn for 1-0. Really poor from Bryn. It gets worse every time you see it on the replays. Manhoef's hit the bar for Stoke, and Cissé's been denied from close range by Bryn. Borough got going towards the end of the half. Aidan Morris was denied by Simpkin, who then made a brilliant double save to deny Whittaker, but he was offside anyway. Borough will go second with a win, but at half-time it's Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0.
Southampton lead Sheffield United by 1-0 into the second half, which leaves us with Watford-Portsmouth. Andy Stevenson.
It's 0-0 here at the start of the second half. Portsmouth have been the better side, although Watford have probably had the better chances. Luca Kieramgard steered a Jeremy Ngaki across just over the bar. At the other end, Pompey was shouting for a penalty when it looked like Watford defender James Abankwah touched a corner with his hand, but referee Bentona said no. VAR, I think, would definitely have given that in the Premier League. Watford 0, Portsmouth 0.
Back to St James's Park. Pat, I'm amazed that it took so long for the decision to be taken out of Bruno's hands. Given the scoreline, given his significance, it took an awful long time.
Given the fact he was on a yellow card as well.
Yeah.
You know, did so many things, and having watched him at the recent Manchester City game, I'm being kind, but I also, being honest, I don't think he's been fully fit, even before the game today, so he was a little bit off the pace of the game, but it just shows you something positive. He wants to fight, he wants to do what he can for the team, but it wasn't being helpful there, and it's certainly with injuries, we don't know what kind of injury it is because we're not sure how he went down, but it looked maybe an ankle one. Don't take a chance on that, because it could be something that's a week that ends up being 4 weeks, and you can't afford that just now with so many games. So Bruno's come off, Miley's come on. I don't think that's made them any weaker at all in the middle of that field. In fact, it may have given them more legs and more energy there. So, you know, it's a good thing, but you could see it just right in front of us, because I'm sure you sat here with us before. We're only about 10 yards away from Eddie Howe, and he kept on going, give me an answer, please. Let me know. Yes, I'm coming off. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. And he eventually said yes, but then the ball didn't go out for about 5 minutes. So, very, very strange, but in the end, they're 2-0 up. Nothing came of it. They're going to come out for the second half. Didn't lose a goal near the end there, and actually haven't given away that many chances. So it's not looking very good for Newcastle just now.
And you asked our Dutch friend Jeroen exactly the same question that I was thinking of around PSV, which is how does a team who score so many goals, etc., find themselves on comparatively so few points? Now we've seen them defend, I get it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where a lot of teams, you know, they play out for the back, and it's quite clever because I was trying to explain it during the game. Most teams will leave 3 or 4 back forward, leave 3 behind at the back to pass it out, and a full back, usually left back, will go in the midfield and give you a little bit of help. All fine and dandy, because you've usually got an extra man. They don't. They put 2 at the back with the goalkeeper and try and play out for there. Problem is, if you've got 2 lightning quick players up there like Vissa and Gordon, 2 on 2, you just make one tiny error. They are all over you. And they just kept on doing it. It wasn't the 2 errors, it was more than that. So they lost 2 goals of it, and eventually the keeper said, I'm not doing that anymore, and just hoofed the next one. But by that point, well, stable door hadn't been bolted and the horses got.
Yeah. Pat, Ian, thank you. We'll be back at St James's for second half commentary shortly. So on 5 Live, Newcastle 2, PSV 0. On 5 Sports Extra, Marseille 0, Liverpool 1 at half time. And of course, we're keeping you right up to date with Chelsea against the Cypriot side Paphos. That one also 0-0 at half time. We'll talk a bit of Jean-Philippe Mateta before the action gets back underway after the news with Alison Hughes.
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Steve. And we've had some news breaking in the past hour. President Trump has said he won't impose the trade tariffs he threatened on 8 countries, including the UK, over their support for Denmark's sovereignty of Greenland. He said a very productive meeting with the Secretary-General of NATO, Mark Rutte, had led to the basics of a future deal covering Greenland and the wider Arctic region. Donald Trump spoke to reporters a short time ago. And just a warning, there's a lot of background noise in this.
It's a deal that people jumped at. Really fantastic for the USA. Gets everything we wanted, including especially real national security and international security.
How so? Can you give us some details, please?
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. I mean, we'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
So as you heard there, the US president hasn't explained the details of the proposal, but he has said it will involve collaboration with NATO and Denmark, and it will be, in his words, forever. The Danish Foreign Minister, Lars Rasmussen, has welcomed Donald Trump's announcement, saying the day ended better than it started. In an interview with Danish national broadcaster DR, he says that what's important for Denmark is to end this in a way that respects the Greenlandic people. Shares rose on Wall Street after President Trump's announcement. Here's our North America business correspondent, Michelle Fleury.
Donald Trump tends to be pretty immune to pushback, but I think one area where he has seemed to pay attention in the past is the financial markets. And if you look back at the last couple of days, we'd seen investors growing increasingly nervous about the idea of steep tariffs coming into effect on February 1st and the sort of resumption of a global trade war.
There'll be a lot more on this developing story here on 5 Live with Tony Livesey from 10:30. Prince Harry has told the High Court in London that Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Daily Mail, made his wife's life an absolute misery. He was giving evidence as part of legal action against the company, which denies allegations of unlawful information gathering. And health officials in Gaza say 11 people, including 3 journalists, have been killed in separate Israeli strikes. Israel's military says it targeted Hamas-affiliated suspects operating a drone that threatened its troops.
A new era of Formula One is about to dawn.
I think the biggest step the sport has ever seen.
There are new rules, new cars, and a brand new team.
In Formula One, it's just absolute, brutal, pure competition.
And the next generation of star drivers are taking us along for the ride too.
I'm gonna go like a madman.
If you want to make it, first of all, you have to believe that you have what it takes.
The biggest shake-up of F1's rulebook has been years in the making.
Somebody's gonna get it right and somebody's gonna get it wrong.
I'm Rosamund Pike, and this is F1 Back at Base, a new era. Listen first on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sports, the Champions League with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Second half commentaries here on 5 Live from St James's Park and on 5 Sports Extra from the Velodrome coming up very shortly. Back underway at Stamford Bridge already in the Champions League. John Southall.
Where it is Chelsea 0, Paphos 0, but Chelsea have made a double change at half-time. Estevao has come on, which went down very well with the home fans. 3 goals in his 3 Champions League starts so far for Chelsea. Reece James has gone off and Sanchez is on in goal for Jorgensen, who picked up a knock in that first half. So as we said at half-time, this a game really Chelsea have to win, and it's currently Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Teams are on their way back out at the Velodrome, so if you want to hop over to 5 Sports Extra for the second half of Marseille 0, Liverpool 1, now is probably a good time. Before we're back underway here at St James's Park, let's talk a bit of Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's told Crystal Palace he wants to leave the club this month. He's got 18 months left on his current deal. There's a piece by our football news reporter Alex Howe that you can read right now on the BBC Sport website. Alex is with us. Can you believe it's 7 months since they won the FA Cup? They lost Eze. Mateta wants to leave. Glasner's leaving. It's wild how quickly it can unravel, isn't it?
It really is, Steve. This month has been a painful one for Crystal Palace fans. As you've mentioned there, all of those things happening. The embarrassing FA Cup defeat by Macclesfield, Glasner saying he's going to leave, Mark Gahey going to Manchester City, and now Jean-Philippe Mateta saying that he wants to go this month as well, and that he's disappointed by the club's ambition and also the contract discussions that he's been having over the past year.
Who can afford him?
Not many, but looking at his profile, his history for a striker in the Premier League who has a track record of scoring goals, in the ballpark of 40 million, it probably is good value. The thing that goes against Jean-Philippe Mateta is his age. He's 28, but he's in his prime and has a proven track record. So have the interest from Juventus, which he's keen on making the move, and then also the interest from Aston Villa as well.
It's a nightmare situation for Palace fans. We already know what their manager wants to do. Is it possible that any of these added factors, like Mateta wanting out, could influence what Steve Parish does now?
That's a tricky one to answer. If Mateta goes, Palace have to be active in the transfer market before it ends at the beginning of February. When you look at Crystal Palace's signings in the January transfer window, most of the time they do the deals at the back end of the month. Mateta himself, when he first arrived at Palace, was at the back end of the January transfer window. The same with Daniel Munoz. So it might do, but there's a lot of factors going on and a lot for Steve Parish to decide.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. We are ready to go at St James's Park. Ian?
Yes, we are. Thank you, Steve. Now the side has made a change at half-time, so I'll run through the two teams for you. Pope is in goal, Trippier, Chow, Botman and Hall, the defence for Newcastle. Joe Linton, Miley, remember a replacement just before the break for Guimarães, Tonali, complete the midfield. There's the referee's whistle. Barnes, Wissa and Gordon. Newcastle, black and white striped shirts, white shorts, their European kit, and they're playing from left to right as we look, leading by 2-0 against a PSV Eindhoven side that is predominantly all in navy. Kovar in goal, Sildilia, Schouten, Obispo and Garowski now at left back is the change to the way that they line up with the changes that they were forced to make in the first half. Varner, Junior, Veerm in the midfield, Perisic, Thiel and Mann are their front three. So they've got a lot of work to do in this second half as they attack the end where their supporters are housed high up in the gods away at the Leazes end. Newcastle leading 2-0 will just look to protect this sizable cushion that they have, which will at least guarantee a playoff spot for the Champions League. There's been a goal at Stoke City in the Championship. Lee Blakeman.
It's gone to Middlesbrough. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 1. Shot from inside the area. Good save, Tommy Simpkin, but Alan Brown was following in, firing into the roof of the net to make it Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 1.
Remember, Liverpool are leading at Marseille by 1-0, and Chelsea still drawing 0-0 at home to Paphos. Pat Nevin.
Quite disappointing if Chelsea didn't get the win in that game. That was an absolute definite 3 points expected, but we'll see it. Early days yet, but certainly start of the second half, Newcastle got the ball down, try to slow the game down, play at a pace that suits them a little bit better, because they were periods in the first half, although they didn't give away any chances, they didn't really control the midfield.
Not saying that I'm old or anything, but I remember covering when these two sides met the first time in the Champions League in 1997. It is the 5th meeting overall and their first in 22 years. Newcastle United leading by 2-0 for what is their 147th game in European competition. 7 English clubs have played more. They are closing down on Leeds United's tally, and they will certainly overtake that should they progress in the competition, which is very much the aim for Eddie Howe, as they are looking for what would be 3 successive home wins here in the Champions League after those back-to-back wins against Benfica and Athletic Bilbao. But Perisic coming forward on the left, stopped by Trippier, sliding in. It'll be a PSV throw. Pat.
Yeah, Perisic would love to get the ball, in the final third, a little bit of space. He is one of those players, he's a left winger who doesn't know where the other half is, because he never goes back. He just stays up, and it doesn't matter if Trippier runs off, and he'll just stand there and hope to get the ball in a little bit of space. But of course, he's got that much talent, he is a danger when that happens.
Great noise by the Newcastle supporters being generated inside St James's Park tonight. Chow back to Pope, gets it out from his feet, clears it left-footed, only as far as Mann on the far side. He passes the ball out wide, in comes the cross from Thiel, blocked though by Lewis Hall, rebounds out of play for a PSV throw. The multi-ball system is in operation, so it's back in play very, very quickly as PSV looking to try and get back in the game by reducing the arrears. In comes the cross from the right back, Sildilia on the half volley, tucked in was the Newcastle right back Trippier. Sildilia will try again as he lifts it into the air. Perisic heads it towards Varner, who'd made the run through from midfield. Here is Varner, back heels the ball now. Gazarovski, good interception, good anticipation by Trippier, runs into trouble. PSV get it back. Maro Jr., 30 yards out from goal, central position. And PSV passing the ball quickly, Pat. Good tempo for the Dutch champions.
I did see it all the way through the first half. Even though 2-0 down, they're a neat and tidy looking side. Like, they haven't been threatening in the final third. But Newcastle can't switch off at any point. 2-0 feels good, but it's not perfect. It's not enough.
Varner, ball breaks in field. It's touched out towards Mann. Junior on the overlap with a deep cross into the penalty area. There was a slip there by Perisic that must have taken a touch off Trippier, surely. Oh, it must have done. No, it had to be a Newcastle throw.
Yeah, I thought so as well. I mean, good play, very good passing to manipulate the situation where they got to the byline on the right-hand side. Now the ball's clipped to the back post, and Perisic's got 3 or 4 inches on Trippier at that back post. However, as you say, he didn't get up quick enough. But it just shows you there are little danger signs, just little danger signs so far for Newcastle.
Barnes trying to roll away from Gazorovski, but quickly back into position was Obispo. Miley, who had such a fine game against Manchester City last week, he really impressed you, didn't he?
He always does. He's a very, very special young player. You and I had a chat to Eddie Howe about it afterwards, didn't we? And I think Eddie, like myself, rates him as one of the very special talents in the game going forward.
Yeah, only turns 20 this year. The noise has been increased inside St James's Park by the Newcastle supporters. Really good backing from them tonight. Juventus are leading Benfica by 1-0 in Turin. And Bayern Munich, through Harry Kane, are going to go second. They lead Union Saint-Gilloise by 1-0. They've won 5 of their 6 matches. As Trippier takes the free kick, it's a wicked one, aimed towards Chow. Drops out behind for a corner. We'll go to John Akers watching Marseille-Liverpool.
Marseille 0, Liverpool 1. Wirtz in a great position, took too long to shoot, about 12 yards out, and it was blocked. And Mason Greenwood's gone close twice for Marseille. One a good save from Alisson. Marseille 0, Liverpool 1.
So Real Madrid actually slipped to 4th as Bayern Munich go second. Arsenal, of course, guaranteed to be in the top 2. They've won 7 out of 7. And it means that whoever finishes second, whether it's Bayern, they will not be able to face them until the final. There's Trippier with an in-swinging corner. Botman backpedals, gets his head onto it. Tonali is the one who retrieves it from the right. His cross is headed out by PSV. Trippier plays this bobbling ball out towards Hall. And Hall out to this near side for Tonali. Back to Trippier outside the centre circle. Every PSV player is back behind the ball. Newcastle leading 2-0, 7 minutes into the second half. Hoisted to the edge of the penalty area. Comes off the head of Obispo, and it will go out of play for a PSV throw on their far side, their right. Chelsea Paphos, John Southall.
Chelsea 0, Paphos 0, but Chelsea are pressing for this goal. They've got a free kick over on the right-hand side. It's whipped in and just nudged away by Seema, the defender for Paphos. We've had some brilliance from Estevao. Ball over the top, watched it over his shoulder, hit it on the volley. Brilliant technique, but there was Gorta again to save it. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
We're on air tonight until 10:30. Tony Livesey takes over on 5 Live after 5 Live Sport. I'm not wishing to detract listeners from Tony's late night show, but Champions League highlights are on 10 minutes after that on BBC One. You can watch all the goals from tonight and last night, of course, as including Bodo Glimt with that shock against Manchester City. 10:40, BBC One with all the goals.
It's right in front of us now. We're talking about I was talking about Perisic. He won't run back, and he just passes Trippier on. Problem is, there's no one to pass him on to, because the fullback's got 2 players, and he's furious that he's getting left 2 against 1 time and time again. But they have to take chances, PSV. They have no option.
Yeah, they do. Bayern Munich have got a second goal, and it's another goal for Harry Kane. They lead 2-0 now. Harry Kane from the penalty spot as Gordon runs forward and carries it down that left-hand side. His cross on the run. Barnes waits, tried to meet it on the fault, jumped over the ball. Gazorovski will clear. Varner turns. Referee, I think, has played... No, yes, he has played the advantage. Going to be a yellow card for Tonali because there was a push there on Varner. The referee tried to let the game flow, but Tonali is the second Newcastle player to be booked. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, maybe he was a tiny bit cynical, but that's a pretty soft yellow card there for Tonali. But the referee felt as if he knew what he's doing. There was a break there. Tonali wasn't going to get back if the player got beyond him. So the referee will probably be quite pleased with himself, but that's a very, very soft yellow card.
Atalanta have conceded a goal to Athletic Bilbao. Atalanta 1, Athletic Bilbao 1 is a latest score elsewhere in the Champions League. Don't forget, Australian Open tennis breakfast on Sports Extra once again at 7 in the morning. Currently on Sports Extra now is Marseille 0, Liverpool 1. Perisic has gone down holding Is that his hip, or is he been caught somewhere else? Yeah, it's like he's
just above his hip. Looks like just above his hip.
His hip bordering into the groin, I think it might be.
It's certainly rolling about, writhing. To be honest, it doesn't look this kind of thing you're really acting. You know, you wouldn't go down holding that part of your. Actually, maybe just below his ribs. He's not happy with it anyway.
Well, the referee has had a word with him. I think he's going to continue. He's going to battle on as the 36-year-old. 50 appearances in his, I think it was probably an 18-month spell, wasn't it, really, at Tottenham, and just the one goal. However, he's been much more of a success for PSV. 16 goals in just over 50 appearances since he arrived in the Netherlands. Trippier forward on this near side, the right. Miley touches the ball towards Barnes, edge of the area, caught in possession by Vehement for PSV. Interception though for Hall as he runs forward on that left-hand side. Gordon now shapes to shoot, cannons off the body of Sildilia, and there is a break for PSV that is stopped by Hall in his left-back role. There's been a goal at Watford. Andy Stevenson.
It's Portsmouth who have taken the lead, and they deserve it. A lovely placed finish with his left foot from Adrian Segacic, his 6th goal of the season. Watford 0, Portsmouth 1, just under 20 minutes to go here.
Watford were 8th in the table. A win would have taken them into a playoff position. Middlesbrough, well, they are eyeing automatic promotion. They were drawing 1-1 at Stoke. There's been another goal. Lee Blakeman.
Game has completely turned around just before the hour mark. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2, ball across the face of goal, and there was Tommy Conway on the turn at the back post to bundle it in. Middlesbrough ahead and going second. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2.
Yeah, they started the night a point behind Ipswich, so they'll go 2 points in front of Ipswich Town. Remember, Chelsea still drawing 0-0 against Paphos. Liverpool still have a slender lead in the south of France. Newcastle United, I wouldn't say they're comfortable, but they do have this cushion of a 2-goal lead.
Yeah, but because they've got so much experience in that group, and they've got a lot of European experience as well now, it's the sort of game they should be able to manage out.
Gordon sent free. Gordon enters the area. Gordon's still going. The angle is tight. Takes it away from the goalkeeper, Kovar. Couldn't return it into the centre towards Wissa. That was blocked. Hall tries to keep the ball in play on the far side. Does so.
I mean, the break there is once again, it's 2-on-2. The ease in which they allow themselves to go 2-on-2 at the back, it's as if they trust the centre-backs to do that. That's a dangerous thing to do against really, really quick forwards.
Here is Miley, this young, elegant midfielder, forward, headed away by Junior. Only comes back to Hall. Newcastle United now have it with Tonali, gives the ball back towards Hall, forward along the ground, midway through the PSV half. Joe Linton towards Gordon, takes a deflection on its way through to Barnes. He finds Wissa, the interchange there. Barnes just couldn't take it with him as he dangled the left leg. Just fractionally and annoyingly behind him, but Joe Linton wins it back in the midfield against Mauro Junior. Told to slow it down by Miley in Newcastle. You said it at times in the start of the first half, they weren't controlling the game. They appear to be controlling it now.
That's it, and I'm sure that's what the manager said to them at half-time. There's no need to rush anything now. You can hold the ball for long periods if you like.
Miley makes the run in behind. He lifts over the cross. Wissa waits, and it comes off the head of Schouten, who was tight behind Wissa. And Wissa's looking towards the referee for a penalty, but that's just going to be a corner kick, surely.
It's just because the ball was just up in the air far too long, wasn't it? Because it's up there that long, it gives the defender a chance to come in at the back. There was a little bit of noise, but he has to go for that with his head. And I would agree with the referee that probably should just be a corner kick and nothing else, but very good play. Miley gets to the byline, and Newcastle have one of the best phases of the game now.
Newcastle, let's put it this way, if it went against them, a penalty decision like that, they'd be fuming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Juventus have got a second goal at home to Benfica. Juventus 2, Benfica 0. Newcastle lead 2-0 here. Black and white striped shirts of Newcastle United. Corner taken short, then played back to Trippier, who sends it over deep inside the penalty area, but it's curled out of play for a throw, despite the best efforts of Joe Linton. Pat Nevin.
Well, they tried really hard to sort of work a corner kick. Obviously, it's come straight from the training ground. Laid it back to Trippier, who came late and put it deep. And everybody knew what was going to happen there. It was a goal that Arsenal scored the other night there. when the ball played to the back post, headed across. It was an absolutely brilliant corner kick from Arsenal. But then again, we're kind of getting used to that from Arsenal. They are fabulous in that area.
They've played out from the back on this occasion, and Obispo has been able to carry the ball midway through the Newcastle half. Varner now out to Sildilia, the right back. Mauro Jr. with a shot, charged down, breaks on the edge of the area. There was Miley. And this is Barnes, holds off the challenge of Gazorovski and cleared away by Trippier, headed back by Obispo. Here is Varner, snapping away at the heels was Chow, who's followed him, and he's unable to keep the ball in play, and it goes out for a throw. So I think we'll go to Marseille-Liverpool. It's on Sports Extra, John Akers.
Liverpool have hit the crossbar. Ekitike, first time strike, didn't do a lot wrong, smacked off the crossbar. Marseille goes straight down the other end, and Traoré puts it over the bar on the breakaway. It's open now, Marseille 0, Liverpool 1.
That's on Sports Extra, keeping an eye on matters at Stamford Bridge. John Southall.
It is still Chelsea 0, Paphos 0. 65 minutes played, 2 more chances for Chelsea. Pedro Neto shot from the edge of the area, saved by Gorta. Estevao made space in the area, opened up, shot deflected wide. Paphos are camped in their own half, everybody behind the ball. Surely the goal is coming. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Chelsea have 11 points, and because their goal difference is +5, really can't see them dropping out of the playoff positions for next week with that point, because any side who would need to win doesn't have. I don't think there's going to be that sufficient swing of a goal difference, but it was certainly a damaging blow to any hopes of Chelsea featuring in the top 8 to see automatic qualification. A goal at Vicarage Road, Andy Stevenson.
It's a Watford equaliser. Mamadou Doumbia the scorer, but it's a horror show for the Portsmouth keeper Nicolas Schmidt, who dropped a fairly simple cross and then just couldn't get anywhere near Doumbia. It's Watford 1, Portsmouth 1.
Thank you, Andy. A double change is being made here by PSV Eindhoven, and it is an attacking change because the Esmir Bayraktarovic, who's a Bosnian international, has come on. He's only 20 years of age, signed him from New England last January. Most of his appearances this season have been off the bench. Indeed, 3 of 21 appearances now have only been starts, and Driouche comes on for Perisic over on that left-hand side. He scored a couple of goals at Anfield, didn't he, in that 4-1 win against Liverpool?
He did. He's much, much quicker than Perisic would be, so I'm going to ask a different type of question, and I don't think Trippier will run off him quite as regularly. I think Driouche, he will definitely trace back a little bit, but a dangerous player, as you say, and certainly he's got a goal in him as well.
Barcelona now leading Slavia Prague by 3-2 in the Czech Republic. Driouche, who averages a goal involvement every 31 minutes in the Champions League this season, with 3 goals and 2 assists as they come forward now. Bayraktarovic, this young Bosnian international. Mauro Jr. Certainly a goal for PSV and the Dutch champions, would set us up for a rather nervy finale here at St James's Park. Newcastle still lead 2-0.
Well, it's quite noticeable that Newcastle can't do that high press now. Just over an hour into the game, Visser, he tried it a couple of times there and he just isn't getting close enough now because he's put all that energy in. Similarly, Anthony Gordon, not quite as zippy when he's closing down those back two. I mean, maybe they should hold it a little bit. Don't go chasing every single time. Choose your times to close down, and it might still work. But I'm sure Eddie Howe's maybe thinking a little bit of a change there might be worth as well.
Offside against Thiel. I think they've pushed Varner a little bit further upfield as well, haven't they, in the midfield, as the wind swings and sweeps around St James's Park on this night. Offside, it'll be a free kick for Newcastle. So Bayraktarovic is primarily playing out over on that right-hand side, so he's like a like-for-like change for the remaining international man. Pope with a free kick for Newcastle. 64 minutes played. Here is Barnes. Whistle makes a run ahead of him. Barnes might not need him. Barnes goes it alone! tucks it away. What an excellent goal for Harvey Barnes. Newcastle United surely now guaranteed at least a playoff spot. They lead PSV Eindhoven 3-0.
Brilliant by Harvey Barnes. I mean, just as soon as he got the ball there, he only had one thing in his mind. He's got players in front of him, but he wants to get onto that left foot there. And he drives through the middle of that defence, and that's been a weakness all right long for PSV, that two centre-backs. And whichever two it is, they just look as if they can defend that well. And Harvey Barnes, they went past him as if they weren't there. Still had the keeper to beat, but you never thought for a millisecond he was going to miss that. Zipped into the far corner. 3-0. This whole stadium can now breathe and relax.
Yes. Any jeopardy has surely disappeared now. Newcastle United have that comfort blanket, knowing that they can go to Paris Saint-Germain, knowing that they stay in the Champions League, whether it's in the top 8 and guaranteed the last 16, or at least the playoffs is assured.
Yeah,
and that was vital for Eddie Howe.
Well, apart from anything else, I mean, not that many teams actually get in the top 8. I mean, the very top teams, you know, Arsenal obviously expect Real Madrid. For Newcastle at the start of the season, if you said you'd get to the playoffs, you'd say, yeah, thanks, we'll take that. Anything else is an absolute bonus. So they've got, I mean, we're saying it now, there's in the 66th minute, I mean, mad things happen in football. In the Champions League, we've seen strange things happening. It seems unlikely now. They have managed it well. And now Eddie Howe might be able to think, who can I rest?
Yeah.
Who can I take off? Because rest is so important in this part of the season.
With Aston Villa to come here on Sunday, a game you can hear on BBC Radio 5 Live. And it was the group stages in... they went out of the group stages in 23-24. That was this is, of course, the first time with the new format for Newcastle. They'd never actually reached the knockout stages, although they did progress to the second group stage, if you remember that format when it was 2002, 2003. But that top 8 is certainly dominated by Premier League sides, with Arsenal at the top, Liverpool currently 4th, Tottenham in 5th, and Newcastle now currently sitting in 7th, as they now lead PSV Eindhoven by 3-0. Midway through the second half, here at St James's Park, Chelsea Paphos. John Southall.
Still Chelsea 0, Paphos 0. We're into the final 20 minutes of this game. Changes have been made. Cucurella's come on, João Pedro's come on, Jamie Gittins has come on, Caicedo's hit a dipping 25-yarder, Gorta with the save. 54 European games since a Chelsea 0-0. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Here is Wissa, caught in possession. Joel Linton helping support, keeps the ball with Newcastle United. Athletic Bilbao, who were trailing in Bergamo, have now come from behind. So it's Atalanta 1, Athletic Bilbao 2. What's the latest in the south of France? John Akers.
Marseille 0, Liverpool 1, but they've gone close again. Liverpool, Wirtz, left foot shot, saved by the goalkeeper at his near post, a really sharp save, and Frimpong has just put one across the penalty area for Liverpool, but no one on the end of it. Weir's had a chance on Marseille 0, Liverpool 1.
Commentary on Sports Extra, Pat Nevin.
Yep, just looking down at the players that are out there just now, and it must be the main thing in Eddie Howe's mind. Who needs the rest? Who's going to help with the rest most? You think of Vissa, remember he's had injuries, and you don't want to take a chance, you know, if a player's come back, give him a certain amount of minutes. Voltamada would love to come on just now as well. Anthony Gordon rarely lasts a full game as well because of the effort he makes, so we shall see if Eddie Howe makes that change, or those changes, because I expect it to be plural within the next few minutes.
It is the luxury of such a scoreline here on BBC Radio 5 Live. We're also live on the red button, the iPlayer, BBC Sport website and app, as you will be able to then see and listen to the commentary, the video printer that I have got just away towards my left-hand side. Miley with a weighted ball, Barnes makes the run, Barnes with a cross, Wissa tried to meet it first time, sliding in 8 yards out, goes behind for a goal kick. That would have been an incredible goal.
It's one of those ones, when the move started just inside the opposition half on the right-hand side by Miley, you knew how it was going to end. You knew exactly what was going on. Miley seen the pass in there, Barnes still got lots of energy there, gets the ball into the right area. We're talking about Vissa 15 minutes earlier, probably puts that one away, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of tiredness creeping in, understandably so, because they put a huge amount of work in there, but just couldn't get that extra couple of inches to get the tap in. But it was a fabulous move, and right now Newcastle are purring. The game gets easier when you're 3 goals up.
Yeah, that was all about pace and power down the right-hand side. Stoke City against Middlesbrough, an 8 o'clock kickoff in the Championship. Lee Blakeman.
17 minutes to go, Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2. Middlesbrough just had a good chance to wrap it up though. Conway, the scorer of the second, shot, edge of the area, hard and low, brilliant save by Simpkin to his right to keep it at Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2.
Not for the first time tonight, Pat Nevin has been proven correct. Newcastle are going to make 3 changes here in the second half.
I've not guessed who's coming off yet. I have to guess that. I mean, Vista you've got to do. And certainly Anthony Gordon now will be taking him off as all possible.
Yeah, so Joe Linton is going to come off. So Jacob Ramsey will replace Joe Linton in the midfield. And while these changes take place, let's hear of another goal in Marseille. John Akers.
And it's come for Liverpool. It's a bit scrappy, but they won't care. Great work from Frimpong down the right-hand side. Stands up the defender, sprints to the byline, puts the ball back across, and I think it's come off the back of the defender sitting on the ground for Marseille. It's gone in off his backside, in off the post. Yeah, it has. And Liverpool are 2-0 up. Marseille 0, Liverpool 2.
So Liverpool lead 2-0 in Marseille. Barcelona, Lewandowski has scored at both ends. Slavia Prague 2, Barcelona 4, and Athletic Bilbao have got a third goal. Atalanta 1, Athletic Bilbao 3. The changes that have been made here with Newcastle 3-0 up. Ramsey coming on for Joel Linton, which was important because he was on a yellow card. That would have ruled him out of Paris Saint-Germain next week. Voltemada for Wissa, and Elanga comes on for Gordon.
Again, good energy there, isn't it, Elanga? It's not absolutely went brilliantly for him since he came to Newcastle, but he's come on in the game. He's got 20 or so minutes to go and have some sort of impression. You're 3 goals up, it's Champions League night. Just get on the ball in that final third and ask questions of the fullback who's playing against you. And it's Gazirovski who's playing against he plays centre-back, but sometimes left-back. Got to ask him a question, got to get the ball. I just hope he gets a chance, because when you're a player trying to break into a side in the standard of Newcastle with the quality of wingers they've got, it's not easy at the best of times.
The other thing, and I can't help but feel that they might still need a point to give them any hope of a top 8 finish, but looking at that league table, Newcastle's goal difference of +10 is the same as Paris Saint-Germain. It's actually only bettered the goal difference by Real Madrid, Bayern Munich and Arsenal. PSV are going to make a change as we go to John Southall at Stamford Bridge.
Chelsea 0, Paphos 0. Chelsea have a corner over on the far right-hand side. 14 minutes of the game left to play. This will leave Chelsea on 11 points in 15th, 2 points off 8th, but it would look very difficult if they don't win this game to finish in the top 8. Chelsea 0, Paphos 0.
Yes, it certainly would. Teal is the player who's come off. He's actually gone off on the far side, the striker. They've brought on Ryan Flamingo, as Gazarovski has got to pass the ball back towards Kovar, and Langa was herring after him to put him under some pressure. That really wouldn't be good at all, would it? Chelsea drawing 0-0 with Paphos.
It'd be a real disappointment for a number of ways, but just get great belief they could get one at some point, because they were in complete control of the game, haven't they, as much as we can hear.
Well, it's no longer goalless, John.
Relief at the bridge. Chelsea 1, Paphos 0. It came from a corner at the right-hand side, and there was Moises Caicedo 6 yards out to head it in. Chelsea 1, Paphos 0.
They go to Napoli next week, to Chelsea, so that would currently take them on to 13 points, and actually it now means that there are 5 Premier League sides in the top 8, because Chelsea are currently in 8th position as a result of that goal that they've just scored at home to Paphos. Elanga leaps in the air, tries to head it into the path of Miley. Gazarovski under pressure from Elanga, off balance. Out it goes for a throw for Newcastle, who are full of running and full of confidence.
Well, they are, and Elanga particularly. He's hardly touched the ball, but the speed and the pace and chasing down defenders. He's also got immediately getting Newcastle fans on his side, as if to say, look, I want to show you that I can play, I can do something. There have been a few grumbles and groans at him, but Nice start to this game for them.
PSV haven't been able to live with Newcastle at times, and Newcastle coming forward again. Trippier back heels the ball towards Sonali, just in from the right touchline, level with the penalty area, back towards Trippier. PSV, who unbeaten in the Champions League away from home this season. They beat Liverpool 4-1 at Anfield. They've drawn at Leverkusen and Olympiacos. But put to the sword tonight as Elanga with a cross. Voltemada's header caught by Kovar just underneath the crossbar. Newcastle 3-0 up. Latest in that game at the Championship. Stoke City lead Blakeman.
Oh, it's all going wrong for Stoke. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2. Stoke a goal down and now a man down. Bosun Lawal's just been sent off for a second yellow card. Late tackle on Aidan Morris. 2 yellows, 1 red. He's down the tunnel. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2.
Notice as well that Bayern Munich are down to 10 men as well. The South Korean international Min Jae Kim has been sent off for Bayern Munich, who are leading Union Saint-Gilloise by 2-0, courtesy of a brace of goals from Harry Kane. Wissa, Gordon and Barnes on the score sheet for Newcastle United.
Just a little break there, and Driouche got the ball for the first time on the left-hand side. I suspect since he's come on, he's done more than Perisic did for the entirety of the time that he was on for the first hour or so.
The voice of Pat Nevin on BBC Radio 5 Live. The supporters have alerted the German referee that this corner kick wasn't anywhere near the quadrant. So Daniel Sievert quickly had a look after wandering across to this near side. In it comes, fired over, and unable to keep the ball down, I think, was Kylian Sildilia, the French right back who they signed from Freiburg in the summer on a 5-year deal.
They've actually scored a few corners from a few corners in the competition so far. The problem they've got there, that they had Voltemada at the front post and they also had Miley as well. Both of them very, very tall players, so hard to get a good ball in.
Ramsey wriggles free, passes the ball into the penalty area for Elanga, and Elanga off target. Well, he's actually gone 36 club games without a goal since last April, Forest against Manchester United. But that was an effort that he fired well off target.
But what's really nice is the reaction he gets from Newcastle fans. He looked a wee bit devoid of confidence to me when the Manchester City game had come on. He just didn't believe in himself. There's a lot of pressure to come to a place like this, and the high expectations, and he come on and he didn't look like himself, and we know he's very capable. Since he's walked on the park tonight, he looks fabulous, Elanga, and if he can keep that confidence up, and the fans they're trying to give him as much as they can. If you can do that, that's another really good strength to the Newcastle ball up front.
Yeah, Elanga certainly being supported from the Gallagate end away towards our right. Southampton have got their first win in the Championship in 8 matches. They've beaten Sheffield United by 1-0. As PSV, who are 3-0 down, have possession on the halfway line. We've got about 12 minutes remaining. Remember, we're on air and through till 10:30 tonight on BBC Radio 5 Live, as we go back to Stamford Bridge and John Southall.
Chelsea 1, Paphos 0. Good response from Paphos from the goal, though. D'Amato with a header came off Badiashile and over the crossbar. So as it stands at the moment, Chelsea in the top 8. They are 8th on 13 points. Chelsea 1, Paphos 0.
Got 7 games to bring you at the weekend in the Premier League across the 5 Live network. Burnley Spurs is our commentary at 3. Sports Extra at the same time will be Manchester City against Wolves, as PSV attack on the right hand side. Marot Junior in field. Barner back towards Junior. Out it goes. Cross comes in. Aimed towards Driouche. And Newcastle United through Tonali clear. Bournemouth-Liverpool is our commentary at 5:30, and 4 more games in the Premier League on Sunday. Newcastle-Villa here at 2. Palace-Chelsea at the same time on Sports Extra. Brentford-Forest on Sports Extra 2. And Arsenal-Manchester United is our commentary at 4:30 as part of 5 Live's Premier League Sunday.
Again, they've managed it well this last little bit. PSV have got a good bit of the ball, but it's not really led to any clear-cut chances. I can't think of any really clear-cut chances that PSV have actually managed.
No.
Nothing clean on goal, nothing that has really worried Pope too much. They've defended really well. Considering that the amount of defenders that Newcastle are missing just now, if they could finish with a clean sheet tonight, they'd be absolutely delighted with that.
I do recall, and only because I just looked at my notes, the Varner tame effort just before half-time, which was straight at Pope.
Yeah, but Pope actually he didn't really have to try too hard.
Yeah. So it would be 3 successive wins at home and 3 successive clean sheets too, after beating Benfica 3-0 here in October and Athletic Bilbao 2-0 a month later. They now lead PSV 3-0. PSV, who have scored in 18 of their last 19 either group stages or league phase matches. Of course, both sides managed by the great Sir Bobby Robson, who passed away 17 years ago. Actually had 2 spells during his time in Eindhoven. As PSV under pressure give the ball towards Barnes, full of running into the area. Ramsey a little flat-footed and allows Schouten to get back there and to help clear it for PSV. How long have we got? Got 10 minutes remaining.
Yeah, 10 minutes. You don't want to overexert yourself, but I'll tell you what, the players that are overexerting themselves are the ones that have come on. They've come on with a great attitude for Newcastle, and what would make it the perfect night would be if Elanga could get a goal, or indeed Voltamada. Those two getting goals, and you walk up really delighted if you're Eddie Howe, because when you leave players out, they're always a bit disappointed, even though you do know that you have to change your team around a little bit. But as an attacker, you want to be on there and you want to be scoring goals.
All 3 English sides are leading in the Champions League tonight. Liverpool 2-0 at Marseille. Chelsea only 1-0 at home to Paphos, and Newcastle United 3-0 here at home against PSV Eindhoven. The Dutch champions and the runaway leaders this year. I mean, they won it by a point last year against Ajax. They are currently 16 points clear of Feyenoord as they look for a 3rd successive title and a 27th Dutch championship overall. I mean, I remember covering the games against Arsenal last season, and indeed Arsenal absolutely battered them in Eindhoven. 7-1 it was, which was their heaviest defeat in European competition. And Newcastle here taking full advantage of them playing out from the back, which was their undoing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of those ones, had PSV managed to score first, you can imagine they're a team that are really nice to watch, huge confidence, but it dipped at various points in the game, and when it dipped, Newcastle were there and ready for them and took massively good advantage. And again, Newcastle haven't had a massive amount of chances, have they?
No.
But they've scored a good bunch of them. I mean, 3 of them. There's only maybe 2 other chances, 2 or 3, but not that many clear-cut ones. And that's about quality in the final third. And I suppose in the end, that's what tells the very best ones away for the ones that are just pretty good.
Free kick for PSV Eindhoven, which they're going to take midway through the Newcastle half on the right-hand side. Newcastle's defensive line is on the edge of the penalty area. The German referee has just had a word. I think was it with might have been Tonali. It's going to be taken by Veerman. In it comes now, rather flat delivery, headed away by Miley, headed back, and then actually inside the area, just trying to stick a leg out at that, I think was Sildilia, but it went straight through towards Pope. Full time in the Championship at Vicarage Road. Andy Stevenson.
Portsmouth creep out of the relegation zone with a 1-1 draw at Watford. Adrian Segacic side-footed Pompey ahead midway through the second half, but minutes later goalkeeper Nicholas Schmidt spilled a simple-looking cross and Moussa Doumbia slotted home an equaliser. Watford 1, Portsmouth 1.
And Watford climb a place as well. They're now a point behind Preston North End, just outside the playoff positions. Remember, an 8 o'clock kickoff in the Championship. Stoke City 1, Middlesbrough 2 remains the latest score. In the Champions League here on 5 Live, Newcastle United playing from left to right. Back it goes towards Chow. I don't think the support from the Newcastle supporters it's been relentless tonight.
Well, they love it. They love being in the Champions League. Remember, there's long years where it was difficult for Newcastle United fans, and there was real problems with the ownership. There was real disaffection, but they kept on coming. They kept on coming in huge numbers because they always believed they could get back to the top table, and this is it, top table. And they just, they're feasting on it, aren't they? They love it. They enjoy every minute of it, and that's the way it is. There are some clubs sometimes you think they take Champions League for granted. That doesn't happen here, does it?
No, it certainly doesn't. Only their 4th campaign in the Champions League proper. Atalanta have got a goal back, incidentally. Atalanta 2, Athletic Bilbao 3. What's the latest in Marseille? John Akers.
It's Marseille 0, Liverpool 2, and comfortable at the moment with 5 minutes to go, Liverpool, but perhaps it should have been 3. Mo Salah through, He was just the goalkeeper to beat, tried it with the outside of his left foot and skewed it horribly wide. Quite a bad miss. Marseille 0, Liverpool 2.
And they are at home to Karabakh next week, so Arne Slot, I'm sure, would hope at Anfield that would be give them enough of a backing to secure and to hold on to that top 8 finish. That's what everybody wants. Newcastle United have given themselves a chance of that as well, although their task is somewhat harder to go away to Paris Saint-Germain next week, but they're leading here 3-0. But as Pat Nevin quite rightly said at the start of the night, they just had to focus on tonight and get the job done here this evening, and that they have done. Here is Shout in the midfield, midway through the Newcastle half. Varner then gives the ball to Driouche. On this near side, Dutch forward comes alongside into a central area and goes for a curling effort, right-footed. It was off target, probably a foot wide of the right-hand post, out for a goal kick. Newcastle still lead 3-0.
I don't think there's any doubt that Pope had that covered, but at least there was an effort there towards us, not the goal, but not on goal. But it has been comfortable now. In 10 minutes or so, and they've managed it really, really well. They've got a chance now to take Kieran Trippier off, give him a little bit of a rest, which is good news. You know, you always think of the work rate of those attackers, the effort they're going, but listen to this reaction you're getting for Kieran Trippier. The fans really recognise what he's done tonight.
He's a great pro. He's 35 years of age, Kieran Trippier, but he's now started in 3 of the last 4 games. And his experience, that know-how, you know, when we were talking the first half when they were temporarily down to 10 men and he got everybody in just to squeeze in and be compact and tight. Forever thinking, you know, such a valuable player to have in a dressing room.
Do you know, a lot of the times when players of a certain age, you know, you get a bit miffed when they're left out, and his attitude has looked perfect recently. You know, it's difficult times when you realise you probably might not be number 1 choice all the time, and Livermore come in and etc. looking very, very good. But he's been exceptional tonight, not only as a player, but you know, working out very, very hard, and just looking who he's been replaced by. Miley has gone and played at right back.
Yeah,
giving Willock a chance to play in midfield.
So we saw Miley last week, didn't we, playing in that position against Manchester City. Willock comes into the midfield, and such is his versatility. The young man drops in at right back to see out the closing minutes. 3 minutes remain of normal time, and Newcastle United leading PSV by 3-0. Newcastle still very much in control, as are Liverpool against Marseille, 2-0 up there in the south of France, and Chelsea have a slender lead 1-0 against Paphos. We will have reflections, try and bring you the reaction. We're on air until 10:30. If not, the 5 Live Football Daily Pod will be the place to hear the thoughts of the respective managers of the 3 winning English sides tonight. And don't forget, Champions League highlights on Match of the Day, BBC One at 10:40 tonight. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, ball played up there to Voltemada. Both players were ripping the shirt off each other, and the referee just looked and said, yeah, both of you are at it, no foul, carry on. Like that.
Here is Baraktarovic. Mauro Jr. holds it off to Baraktarovic, but then he loses out muscled by Ramsey. His forward ball goes behind Elanga and allows Obispo just to step forward out of defence. The ball then passed by Baraktarovic to Driouche on this near side, goes on the outside of Miley, but Miley stands tall. Last touch came off Driouche, and it will be a goal kick. And listen to the applause again for young Lewis Miley.
There was a period where he was getting a bit of stick from some Newcastle fans, and I've utterly and completely beyond me. Okay, you're going to have ups and downs if you're a young player coming in. They know now, they get it now, they know the quality he's got. Stick the guy right back. And he played it with the Docker he played against the other day.
Yeah.
You're playing against some of the best players out wide there, totally out of position. Well, as if he's played there all his life, all his very young life, that is. No, very, very good play there by young Lewis Miley, again.
Yes, he's certainly catching the eye, is the 19-year-old.
We had a conversation with, we were talking about to Eddie, and I was going through commentary last year. See if the World Cup was next year. I think Miley might be in the reckoning. He is capable of being that good. And I think others think he may actually do it this year. I think it's going to be too early for him, but no, he's a real talent.
But the fact that he can fill in at right back, that versatility is just another addition to his armoury, isn't it?
Yep.
He keeps the ball in play on this near side to Elanga, and Elanga gets away from Flamingo, running at the heart of the PSV defence. Out towards Miley. Miley with a cross, deep into the penalty area, bounces away off the knee of Barnes and out for a goal kick. And Newcastle with a 90 minutes up lead by 3-0, and we will find out how much added time there will be. And there'll be 4 minutes, Pat Nevin.
They look very good on this right-hand side, all the way through the second half. Got the ball down to dangerous areas regularly. There's good understanding between the players over here, and they've changed them around as the games went on, but sometimes they look better left. Now, I mentioned earlier on I prefer Barnes on the left. He's gone to the left. He's hardly had the kick of the ball since he's gone there. But on the right-hand side, Langa's looked really sharp since he's come on, and Trippier was good at right back, and as I say, Miley just looked like a class act there now.
Elanga picks up the ball, brought down. That was cynical by Veerman, and he'll get a yellow card here, I would have thought, the Dutch international.
He's been a wee bit arrogant towards the referee, Veerman, as if to say, why am I getting a yellow card for that? Because when you look up the rule book for a yellow card, that tackle is shown in the rule book. It's the most blatant yellow card you'll ever see, mate.
Fenerbahce have actually offered to activate his release clause, which is 20 million euros, but for the time being he remains at PSV. Chelsea have beaten Paphos by 1-0. Atalanta 2, Athletic Club 3. So Athletic Bilbao with that big win, only their second win in Bergamo, and Juventus have beaten Benfica 2-0 elsewhere in the Champions League. Liverpool lead 2-0, that's the latest still.
I'd be intrigued to know the reaction of the fans at Stamford Bridge at the end of that game, 1-0. I'm sure we'll be told.
Well, there's been another goal in Marseille. John Akers.
Liverpool have wrapped it up. Marseille 0, Liverpool 3 in stoppage time. Only 45 seconds remaining, and off the substitutes bench, unmarked, right foot, cool as you like, about 15 yards out. Cody Gakpo fires it into the far corner. It's been a really good night for Liverpool. Marseille 0, Liverpool 3.
That is an impressive result for Liverpool. 3-0 winners then it will be in Marseille. Chelsea have beaten Paphos by 1-0. As here a yellow card is going to be shown to Sildilia for kicking the ball away.
Well, no, he kicked the player as well before he kicked the ball away, so he was going to get it for either of them. But there's a real frustration with PSV players. In the end, they've hardly laid a glove, you know. And they're a team that came here, although we had before the game, they felt they were slight underdogs. They felt as if they could get something. They've scored a lot of goals in this competition. Remember, the 4 goals they scored against Liverpool. Well, Liverpool went through a difficult time, but they really haven't laid a glove in this Newcastle side, which really plays Eddie Howe.
Tonali then waits to take the free kick on that far side, attacking the Gallagate end, just in from the left touch line. Tonali's in swinging free kick. Botman rises, cleared before Ramsey could react to it. By my watch, we're about to enter the last 60 seconds as Baraktarovic picks it up and releases the ball through the middle, out towards Driouche on this near side, but he won't keep the ball in play. And for all the talk about PSV, they've been quite disappointing, really.
No, they had the stuffing knocked out of them. You've partially their own fault, partially for good planning by Newcastle United. And it's hard when you're playing away from home and you go 2 goals down. And you think, well, wait a minute, we're only following instructions here, but you know, we've taken too many chances against a team that's got real quality up front. And I don't actually think PSV in the end, if you look over the entire 90, have done themselves justice tonight. And that's because against a team that have been a wee bit too mature for them.
Yep, Newcastle leading 3-0. Bayern Munich have beaten Union Saint-Gilloise by 2-0 with those goals from Harry Kane, so they move second. Arsenal, remember, are the only side with a 100% winning record in this league phase. 7 out of 7. There's Barnes on the score sheet already. He got that 3rd goal, which really has allowed Newcastle time to breathe in this tie, and the cross comes in from the left and it drops out for a goal kick. But you've got Arsenal, you've got Tottenham, you've got Liverpool, you've got Newcastle and Chelsea. 5 sides from the Premier League, all in the top 8 as the cameras are trained on Eddie Howe. And there indeed is the full-time whistle. And Newcastle, a deserved win, beating PSV, the Dutch champions, by 3-0. They were guilty of playing out from the back and they were punished in the first half. Whisper after 8 minutes, Gordon with a tap-in on the half hour, and then a fine goal from Harvey Barnes after 65 minutes 3-0 and an excellent win for Newcastle United, Pat.
This could have been a very, very tricky tie. In the end, it was very, very simple. You know, did all the right things, real maturity to the play, a real number of good performances, but the fact that they've got a clean sheet as well, with that back four that's been cobbled together, really. They didn't look as if they're under any stress at any point in the game. Eddie Howe was allowed to make a few changes as the game went on, rest a few players as well, and even Newcastle had the game management to slow it down at large parts of that second half, so leave a little bit of energy for what is an incredibly tough little run they've got over the next 5 or 6 games.
Full time then at St James's, with Newcastle guaranteed to progress. Newcastle 3, PSV Eindhoven 0. Steve.
All the reaction on the way after 10 o'clock, finished in the Velodrome. John Akers.
Marseille 0, Liverpool 3. Such a good performance from Liverpool. They really needed it. Szoboszlai gave them the lead. A free kick at the end of the first half. He went under the wall. No draft excluder. The wall jumped. Very clever. Placed it brilliantly from 20 yards to the right of the D. Second half, Marseille did rally a little bit. Mason Greenwood had a couple of opportunities from long range. Alisson made a good save. Frimpong, with good work to the byline, cut it back. Came off the backside of Rulli, who was sitting pretty much on the goal line, and went in off the post. And then in stoppage time a few moments ago, Gakpo made it 3-0. Impressive, a clean sheet. Liverpool 4th in the table. Qarabag at home next. You'd expect them to qualify automatically in the top 8.
Chelsea over the line at Stamford Bridge, only just, John Southall.
Yeah, they've squeaked over the line. Chelsea 1, Paphos 0. They had to be patient. They missed a whole host of chances before the winner. 12 minutes from time, corner from the right-hand side, flicked on, and there was Moises Caicedo, chucked himself at it 5 yards out to head it in. 5th goal of the season, none more important than that. 4th Champions League win here on the trot for Chelsea. They are 8th in the table. They are just above the line on 13 points, and it sets up that final game away to Napoli. And the answer to that question from Pat, on the final whistle, barely any celebrations in the stands, very subdued. They know it needs to be better than this, but it's a win, and that at the moment is all that matters. Chelsea 1, Paphos 0.
And they may well need a win in Napoli to go through automatically. They're 8th on 13 points, level with Barcelona, only ahead on goal difference. Barcelona won 4-2 tonight away at Slavia Prague. The other game of the night, Qarabag 3, Frankfurt 2. Qarabag, who are Tottenham's final opponents. Other full times, Galatasaray 1, Atletico Madrid 1, Atalanta 2, Athletic Bilbao 3, Bayern Munich 2, Union Saint-Gilloise 0, Juve 2, Benfica 0. In the Championship, Middlesbrough are back into the top 2. Lee Blakeman.
It's ended Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2, Borough 1 down at half-time though. Thomas Rigo with the goal following poor keeping by Solbrin. Borough level 3 minutes into the second half through Alan Brown. Then the controversial bit. Luke Ayling with a late tackle on Stoke City's Bosun Lual. 2 feet, studs up. Just a yellow from the referee. Stoke fans left absolutely fuming. Lual was later sent off for a second bookable offence just after Tommy Conway got what turned out to be the winning goal, bundling it in at the back post. Stoke's first defeat of the year, but Borough's 3rd win in a row has them back into the automatic promotion places. Final score, Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 2.
So that result, as I say, puts Borough back into the top 2. Stoke 8th in the table and 2 points outside the playoffs. Southampton have ended their long winless run. They've beaten Sheffield United tonight by 1-0. The other game finished Watford 1, Portsmouth 1. So Watford now a point behind Preston in the playoffs. Watford 7th and Preston in 6th. We know the final now for the Women's League Cup at Ashton Gate on March the 15th. It will be Chelsea after they beat Manchester City by 1-0 against Manchester United, who beat Arsenal by 1-0. We'll bring you some reaction to that before 10:30. And in the National League tonight, a big win for the leaders, York City, 3-0 at Carlisle United. They are top of the table, looking to bring to an end a 10-year absence from the Football League. But they have played 3 games more than Rochdale, who are only a point behind them. They were 1-0 winners at Solihull Moors tonight. Other 2 games finished. FC Halifax 1, Morecambe 0, Forest Green 1, Altrincham 1. All the reaction to tonight's football on the way after the news with Alison Hughes.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Steve. The US president has called off a threat to impose 10% trade tariffs on 8 European countries, including the UK, who said they supported Denmark's sovereignty over Greenland. It follows what Donald Trump called a very productive meeting with the head of NATO, Mark Rutte, in which he said they agreed the framework for a potential deal covering the Arctic region. Mr. Trump hasn't announced details of the proposal, though he said it would involve collaborating with NATO and Denmark, and he said it would be forever. He didn't directly answer a question on whether the United States would own Greenland. Jim Townsend is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defence for European and NATO policy.
My thinking is that when he met with Mark Rutte, Rutte said something like, listen, why don't we put the Greenlandic defence more directly under NATO wing? In other words, we'll establish a NATO presence there. It won't just be the US base, but there'll be a NATO base there. And that probably took care of a lot of the anxiety that Trump seems to have about Greenland.
Ida Auken is a member of the Danish Parliament for the governing Social Democrats. She still has concerns.
It's hard to feel relief when one of your allies is still up to take part of your land. So for us, the situation is more or less the same. We take this very serious. Denmark has been very clear that we don't trade people. Greenland is not for sale.
There'll be more on this developing news with Tony Livesey from 10:30. President Trump says Vladimir Putin of Russia has accepted an invitation to join America's so-called Board of Peace, which aims to resolve conflicts around the world. Earlier, President Putin said his foreign ministry would reply after studying the documents. The Duke of Sussex has told the High Court in London that the Daily Mail newspaper group made his wife's life an absolute misery. He's one of 7 high-profile people who allege Associated Newspapers unlawfully gathered information over a 20-year period. The company denies the claims. And Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking, will give evidence to the US Congress for the first time next month. The House Oversight Committee says she'll appear as part of its investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
5 Live Sports.
Let's get the show on the road on Rod Laver Arena. Good morning, good evening from Melbourne.
The Australian Open.
I mean, how are they both feeling? The nerves, the tension, what's at stake? Unbelievable.
What a rally.
Between now and the end of the tournament, we will bring you a daily pod recapping the biggest stories and the best of the action on the All About Australian Open feed.
The Australian Open 2026.
And join us for our live coverage on Tennis Breakfast every morning from 7 a.m. on 5 Sports Extra and BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sports, the Champions League with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Yeah, lots going on in the world, as you've just been hearing. Tony Livesey is on the way at 10:30 tonight. So, US President press conferences and the Champions League. That's 5 Live. You do not get that anywhere else. Match of the day tonight, of course, 10:40, BBC One, Kelly Cates, Steph Houghton, Stephen Warnock and Rory Smith. And it's after 10 o'clock now, so you can actually go and watch all of the Champions League goals from last night and tonight on the BBC Sport website. So the Champions League has a very English look at the top. Arsenal are top of the Champions League. Liverpool are 4th, Newcastle 7th and Chelsea 8th. After Wednesday night's matches, Chelsea 1-0 winners over Paphos, Newcastle 3-0 winners over PSV Eindhoven, and Liverpool also winning 3-0 in Marseille. We'll talk about all of it. Charlie Adam is with us in studio, former Liverpool midfielder. Pat Nevin and Ian Dennis at St James's Park, where Ian, it was simply never in doubt.
Very true. Yeah, 3 clean sheets and 3 successive wins now at home in the Champions League. Newcastle United can take comfort by securing at least a playoff spot in this competition. PSV Eindhoven arrived with an impressive away record. However, they were undone by their insistence at playing out from the back, and they were caught out twice. Kovar, the goalkeeper, under pressure. His clearance straight to Guimaraes, who found Joel Linton to set up Wissa to score after 8 minutes. Garowski then hesitated, Wissa pounced, and then turned provider for Gordon for a tap-in on the half hour. Barnes tucked away a fine 3rd goal in the second half to give Newcastle hope of automatic qualification. The only problem is they're away to Paris Saint-Germain next week.
It's a good point. Good time for me to say we've got 3 Champions League commentaries next week as well, so we'll be at all of the big games. Pat, I mean, it's unbelievably tight. I mentioned Newcastle are in 7th. They're on 13 points. So are Atalanta in 13th. So look, it might not end this part of the Champions League with them qualifying automatically, and it might do. But to be through to the playoffs, I mean, if you're a Newcastle fan, you would have taken that.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season, that's what you'd be pretty happy about. As I say, very few teams, although they appear most to be English at the moment, get into that top 8. And you usually have to be a very good team and having a good season. So, yeah, Newcastle, they've had a lot of difficulties this term. But look at it just now. As we speak, they're through. As we also speak, they're still in the semi-finals, just of the League Cup as well. And they've got a chance of getting into the top 4 or 5 in the Premier League if they have a good end to the season. So, it's sitting there balanced to be a very, very good season. But then again, that's the case with quite a few clubs just now, isn't it? Particularly in the Premier League. So if Newcastle can get a few of the players, particularly at the back, the back line back, they'll need them, because there are a lot of games. And if you look at the run of games that Newcastle have got in the next 4 or 5, wow, they're going to be stretched.
I guess, Charlie, it'll also be about recruitment for them as well. And I know they haven't got a lot of money, and I know they're probably focusing in on a defender. But if you're one of the calibre of players that Newcastle are going to want, knowing they're going to be playing Champions League knockout football in one way or another is a massive attraction.
Newcastle have got plenty of money. They've got a state owning them.
Yeah, but they can't spend it all because of the PSR at the
but
minute.
they could be clever enough in terms of how they're going. Again, it's hard and it's difficult. When you pick up injuries to key players and probably not replace Isak the way they probably wanted to replace him, I think Eddie Howe's done a wonderful job, and I think he's gone well. But the pressure's coming in terms of from external noise. That's normal when you're at a club that expects with what they have on the outside with the ownership and different things. But Eddie's doing a fine job, and that result tonight, why can't they go to Paris and get a result? They lost to Sporting Lisbon last night. They've had a couple of defeats recently against Paris FC in France. So I still think that this Newcastle team are capable on the counter-attack with Barnes, with Gordon, Joel Linton, Guimaraes. They're players that are good enough to go and hurt Paris Saint-Germain. So I couldn't rule them out qualifying automatically. But yeah, of course it's difficult away from home, but you've made that St James's Park a fortress at home in the Champions League.
Which brings us actually nicely onto Bruno, who they'll just be desperate is fit for that.
I don't think he's looked right yet, the last couple of weeks. And it isn't because he's been lazy, and it isn't because he's run out of legs. It's because he looks to me as if he's playing with an injury. And I've thought that for a couple of games now, and tonight it became very, very clear. And I actually would applaud his bravery to try and push through it. And he was trying to push through it tonight when it was silly, because he clearly was injured. He clearly wasn't capable of carrying on, but he kept on going for about another 15-20 minutes, and he was taken off. The hope is that they've got a chance to rest him now. Miley come on and looked perfectly good there, so it may well get a chance to rest there, but you need a fully fit Guimaraes, not a half fit one. And I suppose you could say about any player at the top level.
I think for Newcastle, the difficulty they have now is the fixture list that they have coming up, in terms of they play Villa at the weekend, then PSG, Liverpool, Man City, Brentford. Their teams are all around them trying to fight for that Champions League team in terms of, trying to win their game. So again, if Guimaraes misses at the weekend against Aston Villa, it's a huge blow. But trying to get him fit for Champions League is then gives you a break for that. So 5 or 6 big games coming up for Newcastle, and they couldn't afford to lose them for 6-7 weeks.
And that's the incentive, Charlie, as well, of not playing in the playoffs, because otherwise you'd be looking at, bearing in mind they've played 9 games in the month of January, it would be 8 then next month, so you'd be looking at 17 matches in a 55-day period.
Yeah.
And this is a squad that is already stretched, although Dan Burn is close to coming back, to which Eddie Howe says would be like a new signing. Asula, after his ankle problem, is also coming back as well, but they've still got Kraft out, they've still got Murphy out, Cher with his ankle ligaments, Livramento and Lascelles, so they certainly wouldn't want to be missing Bruno Guimaraes for a period of time.
No, absolutely not. And again, captain, leader, I think he's let's say over the last sort of period since he come to the football club, he's been the real standout player for them, and he's one that carries the supporters with him in terms of getting the crowd going, and his performance has dictated that and how he's played. So to lose him for a few weeks would be a massive blow for them.
So, Pat, with some teams, I'm sort of loath to ask the question of, who is their best player or who is their most important player. That's quite easy with Newcastle, isn't it? It's Bruno.
It is when he's playing at his best. But, as I say, I think they've got good backup. I really do think they've got, not a lot of it, but good backup.
Well, you were very early on Miley, weren't you? Very early. I remember in the cup the other season.
Yeah, I just thought very, very special player, because it's one of those classic things. There's little signs, and Charlie will know all about this. See, when a young player comes in and everybody passes it to him, you don't pass to bad players. And you give the ball to him when he's marked, and you think, right, he can play. You don't even need to see what he does with the ball, but the fact that he's got the vision, he always, even when the ball doesn't arrive where it's supposed to, he picks out the right balls. He's got phenomenal energy. He's also very, very tall. He seems to read the game pretty effortlessly for a player of his young age. So he's a bit special there. But again, don't ask too much too early for certain players. So he'll come into that midfield and it won't be an absolute panic up. But in the end, who is the most important player? Well, don't take anything away from Anthony Gordon. I mean, some of the things he's done tonight, I mean, the work rate, putting crosses in, chasing down, getting his goal, obviously, but, doing that high press which led to those first 2 goals, that was brilliant. And then the next time you look, he's tackling at left back in his own goal line. I mean, his work rate is absolutely off the scale. So, Gordon, Barnes, a whole lot of them, they have to work. But that's what you have to do in the modern game. But every one of them, I don't think it's one player. I think it's a unit with Newcastle. I think that's what it is with them. That's the most important thing.
His record, Pat, in the Champions League, Gordon's record, is way better than in the Premier League this season. Is that just a coincidence?
That's a very good point. You almost, when you play Champions League football, I would kind of compare it, because there's more Champions League games now than there used to be in times gone by. Compare it almost with international football. See, with international football, you play against players you didn't play against all the time, so they don't know you if you're an attacker. And if you're an attacker and someone doesn't know your special trick or your go-to tricks or your things that you're absolutely best at and doesn't know you, it's brilliant. You'll love it as an attacker, because you're playing against somebody going, what's he going to do next? Whereas if you're playing against the same fullback like 6 times in 2 seasons, you know the inside out and you have to readapt all the time. So sometimes playing in Champions League or even international football, for some players, it actually can be a wee bit easier.
He scored 6 goals in his 7 Champions League games now this season, Steve.
Yeah.
Which is the same level what Alan Shearer. He scored 6 for Newcastle in the 02-03 campaign. But as far as this campaign's concerned, I think I'm right in saying that only Kylian Mbappe has scored more goals than Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, but I think if you look at Gordon, his goal scoring record's not great. 23-24, he scored 11 goals and 10 assists. But other seasons, he's never got double figures.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, is Anthony Gordon should be scoring more goals, more assists? Yeah.
But is part of it him growing into that player?
No, absolutely. That's grown with the pressure of being a Newcastle player. But again, even at Everton, didn't score a lot of goals. Not scored a lot of goals in his career. But again, when you start going about what other players are doing at the top level in terms of Salah does, and the top players for England, what they're doing, goals and assists, then he then's looking to get that. If you can get goals, assists, double figures for that, then that elevates your career and elevates you as a player. So for Anthony Gordon scoring 4 or 5 goals a season, that's sort of quite normal. Okay, he's had that one season where he scored 11 goals and 10 assists, but in the last 2 seasons so far, he scored 6 goals, 5 assists in 24-25, and then this season he's got 2 goals, 1 assist in the league. So the Champions League seems to be his place where he's scoring the goals. And listen, he's a terrific player, and the way he presses and the intensity he can go is there's not many in the Premier League can do what he does.
Can I say the point, Charlie?
Yeah, of course.
I agree with you, but the one thing is, I don't know a lot of those players who do the work going back that he does, and a lot of the time he's coming off after 60, 70 minutes. And he's basically crawling off the park because he's done the job of 3 men, because he's doing all that back stuff.
No, but the thing for him, Pat, is that, and I got to look at the numbers in terms of his high speed, he'll be doing anything between, I would say, 12, 15, 1600 high speed in the Premier League, which is one of the best in the Premier League.
Exactly.
Intensity, sprint distance will be incredible. He's an absolute machine in terms of running stats in the Premier League. The intensity presses it, and like you say,
but
after
would
that,
you not want him to do it in the final third though?
Yeah,
that's the problem. A lot of it's by his own half.
But again, that's ultimately that's what Eddie wants him to do for the team. He's a very good team player. And maybe if he wasn't doing that and he was at the top end of the pitch, fresh and ready to go, he might have some more goals and assists to the team. But yeah, for him to do what he does in terms of what he's done in the Champions League, it's incredible. And I say Newcastle got a very good player in their hands.
We should at least have a word here, Pat, on the other England international winger who is scoring a lot of goals for Newcastle. I mean, it's not, given what's happened with Dan Burn, even though there's so much competition, it feels not ridiculous that Harvey Barnes is back.
Scottish.
Is he?
Yeah, I was just trying to jump in there as well, Charlie.
No, you get it.
Isn't his cap for England?
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Do you think he's going to get into Scotland?
I think Steve Clarke will be trying to take him to the World Cup for Scotland. He won't get an England squad.
I'm trying to get him in the Scotland squad.
But I've heard that conversation, but he has played for England, so there's no reason he couldn't still be called up by England.
No, he can still be called up for England, but it was a friendly, so he's still he's still eligible to play for Scotland. And I hope Steve's trying to do everything he can to get him.
Isn't that a conversation now?
Oh, it's always been a conversation.
It was big in November. It was very big in November. Then he started off again.
Yeah, but I think for Harvey Barnes, it was more about he wanted to play for England.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I'm not sure he still gets in that squad at the moment. No. He doesn't get an England squad. He's not in that sort of Morgan Rogers, Saka, Foden, Palmer level.
He would struggle even if you took a squad of 30. I think Harvey Barnes, with no disrespect, would struggle to try and break through from all the players who were ahead of him. Although it was very amusing to see how quickly Pat and Charlie.
Oh, we were on it. No, don't you want to bet that?
I can remember Pat having the conversation before the Denmark game. That's and true. Harvey Barnes, and we had the conversation then about him. However, things have changed since then, and if he still wants to, well, this is probably for another night, but I would love to ask him the question now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but he's been asked the question a few times and he's been brilliant at deflecting it with his forward defensive strokes, because he wanted to wait as long as he possibly could to see if he could get that England squad. Look, that's understandable, acceptable, but he's coming at a time where, he's of an age where how many World Cups are there going to be? Is he going to get that chance, for England? Scotland would welcome him with open arms. That's what happens. Every country does that. He would be made incredibly welcome within the Scotland squad, and apart from anything else, he would become an important player for Scotland at a World Cup. So, have I sold that enough?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is the most on the back foot I've ever felt behind a microphone. Good conversation that around Harvey Barnes. We will be back at St James's Park shortly. We're going to talk a bit of Liverpool, their victory in Marseille by 3-0. So they in the Champions League are looking well set for a place automatically. They finish with Qarabag at home. Tonight, John Akers, in the end, pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward, and a welcome straightforward victory after all the draws. It is 13 unbeaten. All the headlines were about Mohamed Salah. It wasn't his night, missed a decent chance, but it certainly was Liverpool's night. And they look like they should finish in the top 8 now. They're 4th with that win. Qarabag at home next. Dominic Szoboszlai's free kick gave them a lead. That was welcome. Under the wall, that jumped with no draft excluder underneath. It was pinpoint. The keeper got a hand to it, but it was an excellent free kick from 20 yards. Marseille were a bit better in the second half. They've been free scoring, of course, Steve. They scored 22 in the last 6 matches, and Liverpool defended well. Joe Gomez in the team for Canate, who was out for personal reasons. Mason Greenwood stung the palms of Alisson, who made a few good saves in the match, but they had the stuffing knocked out of them, really, with the own goal. Great pace to the byline from Frimpong, and it went in off the keeper's heel, Rooley in off the post. That was midway through the second half, and then Gakpo wrapped things up for 3-0 Liverpool. Richly deserved, fantastic atmosphere, but Marseille couldn't find any rhythm against a Liverpool team who did look really good with Salah back in the team. I've got to say, came back from AFCON and did perform well. So Marseille 0, Liverpool 3, full time.
Thank you very much, John. Here's one for you, Pat. Can you remember somebody scoring a free kick under the wall in an Old Firm game going back a few years?
Oh, I should know this, shouldn't I, really?
Can you ever think about who that might have been? Just think about where you are and where I am right now, and who might be sitting next to me in the studio.
I was going to say Charlie, but
were you?
Yeah. The thing is, I don't like talking about the free kicks with Charlie. I scored a couple of free kicks in my time, but we've basically got a master free kicks on the other end of the line there. So Charlie should talk about them.
No, I think again for Marseille's watching it back is that normally somebody that we call it a doorstop in terms of set play coach when I used to be one. But
you call which bit a doorstop?
We call it the doorstop.
What we call the draft excluder.
Yes.
So no one else calls it the draft excluder.
No,
you call it the doorstop.
So we call it technically a doorstop in the game.
But that doesn't make sense, Charlie. Doorstops aren't long and thin. They're short and fat.
Yeah, but they're long and then it stops the ball going there. So we call it a doorstop.
Yeah.
So anyway, we normally in the Premier League you see players lying in behind it, and tonight Marseille have not done that, and Szoboszlai took his free kick and it was a lovely finish.
Just as we were about to start talking about this, you went on your phone and you'd forgotten to turn the volume down. Were you watching the free kick back or doing something else?
No, it wasn't me. It was one of the producers that done it.
Don't believe you.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
I have just watched it. It's a lovely free kick. Rangers versus Celtic, obviously. Did you mean it?
Of course I meant it.
So, but at that point, Pat, I don't know, when you were playing, would you have had anything like the equivalent of the draft excluded? Because to me, it feels like something we've only seen in sort of the last, 10 years, but maybe that's just sort of recency bias.
I actually had seen it many, many, many years ago, but it wasn't regular.
Right.
It was quite unusual to do it because, just the idea of, most players started jumping, from free kicks when players get better at getting up and down over the wall. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like it's like an arms race. You have to add something else and something else and something else. But it is now absolutely de rigueur. You should really probably do it every time. If your wall's going to jump, you need one.
Especially if you're in that position where Szoboszlai is, because he's just probably 4 or 5 yards outside the box. It's capable of being able to go underneath the wall, so then it allows your defenders to actually jump a little bit higher. It's higher than you can. If you've got that sort of doorstop underneath the wall, it gives your defenders that opportunity to jump higher than normal, because if it wasn't there, you can only really jump probably 2 or 3 inches because of the ball going underneath the wall. So you can actually lever yourself high enough to get under it. And listen, Marseille never had that, and it was a brilliant spot from the analysis who've probably spotted that.
Yeah.
Again, that's the sort of work you go into, and that's the sort of work as a player that I would sort of use as well. I'd look at that, and I'm using it, but scoring from halfway, I'm not saying it should happen regular, but I always looked at before a game, would the goalkeeper be off his line in certain situations and things like that. These are just the moments that players are thinking, and something that the analysts must have spotted over what they've seen in terms of the review of Marseille games.
It's funny, Ian, because, and I think I probably watch quite a lot of football, but not as much as you do. I now feel it almost feels more common that you do see draft excluders / doorstops than don't see them.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to make a note of doorstops.
Good, isn't it?
To the Commentators View podcast. Yeah,
good one.
Which will be recorded on Friday. Yeah, I think it's all part and part. I mean, they don't miss a trick these days now, do they? The coaches, they've got everything. It's all. I mean, look at Eddie Howe tonight. He talked before. He praised PSV about they've got different ideas. They do things slightly out of the ordinary. He'd identified that, and they capitalised on it by putting them under pressure as they pressed them when they only had left two at the back. And that insistence of playing out from the back, it fell into Newcastle's hands.
It's that analysis that Charlie's talking about. At free kicks, at set plays. The analytics that you can afford to do at the very top clubs and the quality of people you've got doing that now, they can make a difference. It made a difference in this game tonight. I think that analysis won the game tonight. The fact that you knew where they were going to do that, they're going to try and play it for the back. The keeper wasn't that good with his feet, so if you don't give him the option and you're 2-on-2 up there and he tries something tricky, he could be in trouble. And it worked. And that is the quality of good analysis, and you can afford that if you're a Premier League club. Maybe that's one of the reasons why all the English teams are top of the Champions.
Pat, I don't think it's just Premier League clubs. I think it's all clubs that I think that's the coaching, the way the coaching is, that it's League One, League Two, Championship. It's not just the Premier League because of the tools.
Do they have a lot more money to spend on time and people they can put in? I'm sure.
Yeah, but that's the job of the manager and the coaches to sit down and watch it, and you'll have every club will have their analysis. They'll have an analyst in the club. It's how what depth you want to go to that as a manager. So again, what are you used to? I'm used to seeing Premier League level in terms of Vincent Kompany, now Scott Parker, seeing David Moyes work. They're three big people that have been a big thing for me in my coaching career so far. So again, now I'm looking, when I went into Fleetwood, I could still have the same habits as a Premier League club and give the same detail to these players, what these top players are getting. Can they carry it out? Maybe not. But as a coach, I want to be coaching at the highest level. I want to be learning from the best. So if I can give what knowledge I've learned from the best to players that are playing in League One and League Two, then that can help them improve as players as well.
We're going to have a very quick chat about Chelsea 1, Paphos 0, which I think, John Southall, is what it deserves.
Absolutely, this was not as straightforward as it should have been for Chelsea. It took them 78 minutes to break down an obdurate Paphos, a side worth a collective £26.2 million compared to Chelsea's £1 billion squad. But the key fact is, it is a win. The fourth on the trot here in the Champions League. It wasn't the flamboyance of the Barcelona victory, but the same 3 points. The goal, after a catalogue of Chelsea missed chances, came from Moises Caicedo, 12 minutes from time, corner on the right-hand side. Caicedo attacked the ball and headed in. Relief at Stamford Bridge, no more than that. On the full-time whistle, no real celebrations in the stands, hardly a cheer. It was underwhelming, but a crucial victory, and it sets up that final game away against Napoli. They need to be better than they were tonight, but at the moment, they're in that final automatic qualification place.
Yeah, the reality, Pat, is that Chelsea are almost certainly going to need to win that, because if they were to take a point for it and move on to 14, they've got 5 teams immediately below them on 13. So they're probably going to need to win, which we can come on to next week. But for now, I just think fine that they've got the win. But that was a real opportunity today, potentially, just to get a bit of momentum and a bit of excitement going at home.
Yeah, and you never know, goal difference and goals scored. No, that may be important in this as well because it's that tight.
Yeah, they're only one ahead of Barca and Sporting, you're right.
Exactly. So that's the other thing about it is, remember, you got a new manager in, a new coach, I should say, and it's important that he has a good start. And nobody will remember this. Everybody will remember if you get in the end the next 3 points, and that's what will stick in the mind. It's as friendly a start as you can possibly have in the Premier League. Next six league games since Liam Rossinier took over. 4 of them are at home, and a lot of them are against teams in the lower part of the league. Wolves away from home. There's a real chance of them. So in the end, if they go on a little bit of a run here, people will forget the fact it was only 1-0 against Paphos. Yeah. It was 3 points, and that's it.
Ian, just before we let you go, I've been meaning to ask this for a while and now I've got a chance. Have you done on the glossary my favourite old school football phrase, which I've never known where it comes from and nobody says it anymore? When people used to say, that was meat and drink for the goalkeeper. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, yeah. If we've said it, I've got a terrible memory. You'd have to go down on the...
on BBC Sounds?
On BBC, where it's
Scroll through.
Got them all listed.
Listen to them all, back to back.
You know it better than I do.
Binge listen, I will do. Ian, Pat, Charlie, thank you all very much indeed. Great stuff. Right, let's get a bit of reaction from the Women's League Cup semi-finals. Manchester United and Chelsea will meet in the final. They both won 1-0 in their semi-final victories over Arsenal and Manchester City respectively. So let's hear from the two winning managers. Sonia Bonpastor after Mark Skinner.
We very rarely get time to stand still and celebrate, but I'm celebrating. I mean, a celebration is probably well done, team. It's not drinks anymore, but it's like well done because you faced a lot tonight. The fans can be raucous here. Our fans were fantastic in the corner, gave us that engine we needed, but you've got to fight that, and for us to come through that you're soaked through. You can see, you can feel it. To come through it and just to be as resilient as we were just shows everything. I love that about my team. For all the beautiful football we can play, give me a team that fights for each other and I'll be proud of all the work we've done.
This is nothing new for the club, but it never gets old. I think we have a lot of ambitions, and to reach the final is a really good thing, really positive.
This was the first trophy you won with Chelsea as manager last season, the League Cup. How special is it for you personally to be back in the final again?
Yeah, it's always special, as a manager. I just said before I joined the club, I was coming and joining the club to win trophies, and I think that's what you want to do. A really positive thing to be in the final, but the most important when you reach the final is to win the trophy.
Mark Skinner and Sonia Bonpastor speaking to Paul Gilmore and Katie Smith. It's 10:30. Good evening, Tony Livesey.
They used to say, didn't they, about goalkeepers, he could have thrown his cap on that,
Yes,
but they don't wear
as
caps
well.
anymore.
Well, they don't, but Meat and Drink was a classic of the genre. That was like when I used to play Championship Manager.
I don't know where that comes
Before they had even, they didn't even have the little videos or like top-down views. It was just words on the original Championship Manager.
Yeah.
That was Meat and Drink for the goalkeeper.
Yeah. Oh, it's a catchchess, was it? Yeah.
Good for the younger audiences as well, I think. They'll be all over this.
As he's back to square one, you know where that comes from, don't you?
Chess, I don't know.
No. So I'll bore you very briefly on this because there is.
It's all right. We're on your show now. It's your time.
International events taking place, but back in the day when football was mainly listened to on the radio, I had the idea of putting a little map out for listeners at home, so you knew where the ball was. So you'd say, the ball's in square 7 or the ball's in square 5 as it was moved around the pitch. And when they used to pass it back to the goalkeeper, it was back to square 1.
I've got one for
and
you
that's
as
where
well.
That comes from. Sorry,
a good one. For anyone who listens to the brilliant Ellis James and John Robbins on BBC Sounds, they were explaining why if you plug something on the radio, it actually comes from pluge. And I can't quite remember all the background, but it was to do with French radio. It's one of my best, I think. Well, no, it's actually a pluge, because if you go and listen to Ellis and John on BBC Sounds, then you'll find out.
Yes, well pluged.
Thank you. Merci.
Yes, right. Well, I will see. Your team is sur la table. No,
in the table?
No, sur la... I don't know the word French.
Nous sommes dans la deuxième position, Tony.
Yes, you are first position. I don't know French for top.
That's second, second position.
Anyway, right, I'm going back to square 1 and starting my show. See you later.
Bye.
Goodbye. Right, hello everyone. Yeah, big developing news around the world tonight. Bring you that very shortly. Let's get the news now. It's 10:30.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
So in breaking news tonight, President Trump has said he won't impose the trade tariffs that he'd threatened on 8 countries, including the UK, over their support for Denmark's sovereignty of Greenland. He said a very productive meeting with the Secretary-General of NATO, Mark Rutte, had led to the basics of a future deal to cover Greenland and the wider Arctic region. He hasn't explained the details of the proposal, but has said it will involve collaboration with NATO and Denmark and will effectively be, in his words, forever. The Danish Foreign Minister Lars Rasmussen has welcomed Donald Trump's announcement. He told Denmark's national broadcaster the day had ended better than it started. Lots to dig into there. Well, we'll get to that very shortly. In other news tonight, Prince Harry has told the High Court in London that Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Daily Mail, made his wife's life an absolute misery. He was giving evidence as part of legal action against the company, which, for their part, deny allegations of unlawful information gathering. That is the news for now. Let's get the sport. Here's Conor O'Grady.
Hello, Tony. A busy night of Champions League football. What an evening it was for the 3 English sides in action. At worst, Newcastle are guaranteed a last 16 playoff spot. Johan Wieser marked his first Champions League start with a goal. They won 3-0 at home to PSV. Liverpool are up to 4th after a 3-0 win in Marseille. Chelsea still in the top 8. Moises Caicedo's goal the difference in a 1-0 win against Paphos at Stamford Bridge. Manchester United are into the Women's League Cup final for the first time. They beat Arsenal 1-0. They'll play Chelsea at Ashton Gate in March. The holders beat Manchester City at the Joyce Stadium. Middlesbrough have moved back into the automatic promotion spots in the Championship, coming from behind to win 2-1 at Stoke. Portsmouth out of the bottom 3. That's after a 1-1 draw away at Watford. Next up for Pompey, a South Coast derby against Southampton, who beat Sheffield United 1-0 this evening. And the former England Rugby Union captain Jamie George is to retire at the end of 2027. He's agreed a 1-year contract extension with Saracens. The 35-year-old has been capped by his country 105 times.